What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the life of your dreams is a decision you can make right now? Not tomorrow, not on Monday, not when you're more ready. Tonight. For years, you've been conditioned to believe that transformation is a long, painful, and uncertain process. They told you that you need more knowledge, more resources, more luck. The truth? You already have everything within you at this exact moment. The path of absolute power is no longer just another personal development book that will end up on your shelf. This is a portal of instant transformation, a neurological and energetic map that reconnects you with the power that has always been dormant within you. Through a journey that combines cutting-edge neuroscience, quantum physics, and ancient wisdom, you will discover how your brain is literally programmed to keep you stuck, and how to reprogram it in minutes, the secret that spiritual masters and scientists finally agree on. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Why your previous attempts at change failed, and it wasn't your fault. The energy alignment technique that successful people use instinctively. How your emotions are the most powerful fuel for materializing any reality. This is not a book to be read. It's meant to be experienced. Each chapter was designed so that you go to sleep differently tonight and wake up tomorrow as a completely renewed version of yourself. The question isn't whether you can change. The question is, are you ready to become unstoppable? Because after tonight, there will be no more excuses. There will be no more someday. There will only be you and the absolute power that was always yours. Chapter 1. The Awakening of the Unstoppable Consciousness. Why you're reading this right now is no coincidence. There are no accidents in the universe. Let that sink in for a moment. Right now, in this precise instant, you're holding these words in your hands, or hearing them whispered into your consciousness. And you might think it's random. You might believe it's just another self-help book you picked up hoping for change. But I want you to consider something that will shake the very foundation of how you see reality. You didn't find this book. This book found you. Think about it. Out of the millions of books in the world, the infinite content competing for your attention, the countless distractions of modern life, somehow, someway, you and these words have collided in space and time. Your frequency and this frequency have matched. Your vibration and this message have aligned. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is the universe responding to a call you've been making, perhaps consciously, perhaps from the deepest layers of your subconscious mind. A call that says, I am ready. I am ready to remember who I truly am. I am ready to step into my power. I am ready to become unstoppable. And tonight, that readiness will transform into reality. I need you to understand something fundamental about how this universe operates. Everything is energy. Everything is vibration. And like tuning forks in a silent room, when one begins to vibrate at a certain frequency, others nearby begin to resonate with it. For weeks, months, maybe even years, you've been vibrating at a frequency of seeking, a frequency that says, there must be more, a frequency that whispers in the quiet moments of your life, I know I'm capable of something greater, a frequency that refuses to accept the limitations that others have placed upon you, and that you've placed upon yourself. This frequency has been radiating out from you like an invisible beacon, touching the quantum field of infinite possibilities, searching, calling, magnetizing. And this message, these words you're absorbing right now, they've been vibrating at the frequency of answers, the frequency of awakening, the frequency of transformation. When these two frequencies meet, something extraordinary happens. Not someday, not eventually, tonight. You see, there's a reason you didn't read this book last year. There's a reason you didn't encounter these truths 5 years ago. Your consciousness wasn't ready. Your energy hadn't reached the point of quantum readiness where transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. But now you're here. And that means everything is about to change. Let me share something with you that might sound dramatic, but it's the absolute truth. Your old life ended the moment you started reading these words. Not symbolically, not metaphorically, actually, energetically, really. Your brain, that magnificent 3-pound universe inside your skull, is right now forming new neural connections. Neuroplasticity isn't just some scientific term. It's the physical evidence that you are literally, biologically, becoming a different person as you read this. Every thought you think creates a neural pathway. Every belief you hold is a superhighway of neurons firing in the same pattern over and over again. And every time you encounter a new idea that resonates with something deep inside you, your brain begins to rewire itself. This is happening to you, right now, in real time. The old neural networks that kept you small, that kept you safe, that kept you in the familiar prison of limitation, they're beginning to weaken. And new pathways of possibility, pathways of power, pathways of your unstoppable nature are forming. But here's what makes this moment so critical, so sacred, so absolutely pivotal. You have a choice. You can continue reading, continue opening, continue allowing this transformation to unfold. Or you can close this book, put it down, and return to the comfortable discomfort of your old patterns. Most people choose the latter. They feel the stirring of possibility, they sense the trembling of transformation, and they get scared. Because deep down, they know that if they keep going, if they truly embrace what's being offered, they can never go back to who they were. And you know what? They're absolutely right. You can't unlearn truth. You can't unsee what you're about to see. You can't unknow what you're about to know. So I'm asking you right now, before we go any further, are you ready to become someone you've never been before? Because if the answer is yes, if some part of you, even a small whisper, is saying yes, then tonight marks the end of one life and the beginning of another. I want to take you back for a moment. Think about the path that led you here. Maybe someone recommended this book to you. Maybe you saw it online and felt an inexplicable pull. Maybe it was sitting on a shelf and something made you pick it up. Maybe you were searching for answers at 3 a.m., unable to sleep, feeling like something had to change. Whatever the path, I want you to recognize it for what it truly is. A series of perfectly orchestrated events that your higher consciousness arranged to bring you to this moment. You see, there's a part of you, a wiser, more expansive part that exists beyond your everyday awareness, that's been guiding you all along. Call it your higher self, your soul, your connection to Source, the universe, God. The name doesn't matter. What matters is understanding that this part of you never forgot your power. It never accepted the limitations. It's been patiently, persistently guiding you back home to your true nature. And every step of the way, even when you thought you were lost, even when you felt like you were going in circles, you were actually spiraling upward, getting closer, building the momentum, accumulating the readiness. Think about your recent frustrations, the things that haven't worked out the way you planned, the doors that seem to close in your face, the disappointments that crushed your spirit. What if I told you that every single one of those moments was necessary? That they weren't obstacles but redirections? That they weren't punishments but preparations? Science has shown us that the most powerful growth happens under pressure. Diamonds form under intense pressure. Butterflies gain the strength to fly through the struggle of breaking free from the chrysalis. And you've been under pressure. You've been in the chrysalis. And tonight, you break free. Every challenge you've faced has been removing layers of false identity. Every disappointment has been clearing space for what you truly deserve. Every moment of pain has been burning away the old programming. And now, you're here. Raw, real, ready. The invisible thread. The thread of divine timing, of perfect orchestration, of your own magnificent consciousness guiding you, has pulled you to exactly where you need to be. Here's something that most people don't understand about transformation. It doesn't happen gradually over months and years. That's the old paradigm. That's the story we've been told to keep us patient, compliant, and comfortable in our limitations. Real transformation, quantum transformation, happens in an instant. Think about it. When does water become ice? Not gradually. At exactly 32 degrees Fahrenheit, there's a phase shift. One moment it's liquid, the next it's solid. Same molecules, completely different state. When does a caterpillar become a butterfly? Not piece by piece. In the darkness of the chrysalis, it completely dissolves into a biological soup before reorganizing into something with wings. When does a decision change your life? Not over time. In one moment of clarity, of commitment, of choosing differently than you've ever chosen before. You are at that moment, right now. Your frequency is shifting. Your vibration is elevating. Your energy is reorganizing itself around a new truth. You are not the limited being you believed yourself to be. Can you feel it? That tingling sensation of possibility? That stirring in your chest? That voice getting louder that says, yes, this is true. I remember now. This is your consciousness recognizing itself. This is your power acknowledging its own existence. This is the unstoppable force within you, stretching, yawning, opening its eyes after a long, long sleep. And here's the beautiful, terrifying, absolutely exhilarating truth. Once this force awakens, nothing can stop it. Not your past, not your circumstances, not other people's opinions, not even your own doubts and fears. Because this force, this power, this energy, this unstoppable nature, it's not something you need to create or acquire or earn. It's something you are. It's always been there, waiting patiently beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the programming, beneath the lies you were told, and the lies you told yourself. And tonight, we're removing those layers. Tonight, we're breaking the chains. Tonight, you remember. Before we go deeper, I need you to make a commitment. Not to me, not to this book, but to yourself. I need you to commit to staying open, to suspending the voice of skepticism just long enough to let these truths bypass your analytical mind and reach the part of you that already knows they're true. You see, your rational mind, your ego, is going to resist. It's designed to. It's been running the show for so long that it sees this awakening as a threat to its survival. It's going to whisper doubts. It's going to pull up evidence from your past. It's going to remind you of every time you tried to change and failed. Let it whisper, but don't let it drive. There's a deeper intelligence within you, an intelligence that communicates through feelings, through intuition, through that unmistakable sense of resonance when truth is spoken. That's the part of you I'm speaking to. That's the part of you that's going to lead this transformation. So here's the commitment. For the duration of this journey, you're going to listen to that deeper voice. You're going to trust the stirrings of your soul over the protests of your ego. You're going to let your heart be more powerful than your head. Can you do that? Can you make that sacred contract with yourself? Because if you can, if you commit to staying open and receptive, then what's about to unfold will be nothing short of miraculous. I'm not going to promise you that tomorrow morning you'll wake up and everything in your external world will have changed. But I am going to promise you that you will have changed. And when you change, when your frequency shifts, when your vibration elevates, your external world has no choice but to reorganize itself to match your new internal reality. That's not faith. That's physics. That's the quantum field responding to the observer. That's the universe rearranging itself around your new state of being. So, here we are, at the threshold, at the edge of the old and the beginning of the new. You've been invited to this moment by forces far greater than your conscious understanding. The intelligence of the universe itself has orchestrated this rendezvous between you and your power. And the question that started this chapter, why you're reading this right now, is answered not with words, but with feeling. You feel it, don't you? That sense of rightness, that knowing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This is your awakening. This is your emergence. This is the moment you've been preparing for your entire life. Every experience you've had, every lesson you've learned, every challenge you've overcome, every moment of pain and joy and confusion and clarity. It's all been leading here, to this night, to this transformation, to you finally claiming the power that's been yours all along. The old you, the limited you, the version of yourself that accepted less than you deserved. That person is already fading, already dissolving, already becoming a memory, and the new you, the unstoppable you, the version of yourself that you've always sensed was possible. That person is being born right now, in this moment, through these words, through your willingness to open, through your courage to change. Welcome to your new beginning. Welcome to your power. Welcome home to yourself. The journey deepens from here. The transformation intensifies. And by the time you close your eyes tonight, you will be forever changed. Not because of magic, not because of wishful thinking, but because you've remembered the truth. You are, always have been, and always will be, absolutely unstoppable. Chapter 2, The Invisible Prison. Unmasking the beliefs that hijack your power. You've been living in a prison most of your life, and you didn't even know it. No bars, no walls you can see, no guards standing watch. Yet every morning you wake up within its boundaries. Every decision you make is filtered through its rules, and every dream you dare to dream is measured against its limitations. This prison isn't made of concrete and steel. It's made of something far more powerful and far more insidious. It's made of beliefs. Beliefs that were never yours to begin with. Beliefs that were planted in your mind before you had the awareness to question them. Beliefs that have been running your life on autopilot, creating the same patterns, the same struggles, the same disappointments, over and over again. And tonight, we're going to dismantle this prison brick by brick, belief by limiting belief, until you finally see the vast, boundless landscape of possibility that's been hidden from you all along. Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear at first, but is absolutely essential for your freedom. You are not the author of most of your thoughts. You are not the creator of most of your beliefs. You are not even the architect of your own self-image. From the moment you were born, you've been downloading programming from everyone around you. Your parents, your teachers, your friends, your culture, your religion, the media, society at large. All of them have been broadcasting beliefs into your subconscious mind, and you've been recording them like a sophisticated biological computer. By the time you were 7 years old, the majority of your unconscious programming was already in place. Think about that. Most of the beliefs that govern your life today were installed before you learned to think critically, before you could question, before you could choose. When your parents said, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "You have to work hard for everything you get," or "People like us don't become wealthy," your young mind didn't evaluate these statements. It simply accepted them as truth. When your teacher said you weren't good at math, or creative enough, or too talkative, or not focused enough, your developing brain didn't recognize these as subjective opinions. It absorbed them as facts about who you are. When you saw your mother struggle with her weight and heard her say, "I'll never be thin." When you watched your father come home exhausted from a job he hated and heard him say, "That's just life." When you noticed that rich people in movies were often portrayed as greedy or corrupt. All of these observations became embedded neural programs that shape how you see the world and what you believe is possible for you. This is not your fault. This is not about blame. This is simply understanding the mechanism of how beliefs become the architecture of your reality. Your subconscious mind, which controls 95% of your daily behavior and decisions, is like the most powerful computer in the universe. But unlike a computer you buy at the store, it came pre-installed with someone else's software, and that software has been running in the background of your life, making decisions for you, filtering opportunities, creating your perception of what's possible and what's not. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Your brain is designed for survival, not for thriving. It's designed to keep you safe, not to help you soar. And safety, to your primitive brain, means familiarity. It means staying within the known territory. It means not taking risks, even if that familiar territory is painful. Even if that known situation is unfulfilling, your brain will choose it over the unknown every single time, because the unknown represents potential danger. This is why you can consciously want something with every fiber of your being: a new career, a loving relationship, financial abundance, vibrant health, and yet find yourself sabotaging it when it gets close. It's not that you don't deserve it. It's not that the universe is withholding it from you. It's that your subconscious programming, running in the background, is saying, "This is unfamiliar. This is different from what we know. This might be dangerous. Abort mission." I've seen this pattern play out thousands of times. Someone decides they want to start a business. They get excited. They make plans. They take the first few steps. Then suddenly, obstacles appear. Or they get overwhelmed. Or they start doubting themselves. Or they remember that one time in 3rd grade when they tried something new and failed, and everyone laughed. And they stop. They rationalize it as bad timing, or lack of resources, or the market not being right. But the truth is, their subconscious programming kicked in and pulled them back to the familiar prison of limitation because that's where it feels safe. The real tragedy is that most people live their entire lives inside this invisible prison and never even question it. They look at the boundaries of their limiting beliefs and think, "This is just how life is." They see their patterns repeating and think, "This is just who I am." They experience the same problems in different relationships, different jobs, different circumstances, and think, why does this always happen to me? Without realizing that they are the common denominator, not because there's something wrong with them, but because they're operating from the same set of unconscious programs. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't have felt that magnetic pull toward transformation. You wouldn't have that persistent voice inside you that says, there has to be more. That voice is your true consciousness, trying to break through the programming. That restlessness you feel is your soul pushing against the walls of the prison, demanding freedom. And tonight, we're answering that demand. Let me show you how deep this programming goes. Right now, as you're reading these words, there's probably a voice in your head commenting on them. Maybe it's agreeing, maybe it's skeptical, maybe it's saying, this sounds interesting, but I'm not sure it applies to me. Or, I've heard this before. Or, I hope this actually works. That voice, that narrator in your mind, feels like you, doesn't it? It feels like your authentic thoughts. But here's the truth that will shake everything. That voice is not you. That voice is the accumulation of all the programming, all the conditioning, all the downloaded beliefs pretending to be you. The real you, your true consciousness, is the awareness that's noticing that voice, the space in which that voice appears, the silent observer behind all the mental chatter. When you begin to recognize this distinction, everything changes. Suddenly you realize you don't have to believe every thought that crosses your mind. You don't have to obey every doubt that surfaces. You don't have to accept the limiting narrative that's been playing on repeat. You are not the program. You are the programmer. And once you understand that, once you really embody that truth, you can begin the process of rewriting the code. This realization alone is revolutionary. Most people are so identified with their thoughts that they can't separate themselves from them. If a thought says, I'm not good enough, they believe it. If a thought says, this won't work for me, they accept it. If a thought says, I always fail at this, they see it as evidence of who they are. But you're beginning to see through the illusion. You're beginning to recognize that these thoughts are just old programs playing, old recordings broadcasting, old beliefs repeating themselves because that's what they've always done. Now let me tell you about the most powerful mechanism that keeps this invisible prison intact. It's called confirmation bias. Your brain has a reticular activating system, a filter that determines what information makes it into your conscious awareness and what gets ignored. And this filter is set according to your beliefs. If you believe that life is hard, your reticular activating system will highlight every experience that confirms this belief, while filtering out evidence to the contrary. If you believe that you're unlucky in love, you'll notice every relationship that doesn't work, while ignoring or minimizing the ones that could have. If you believe that money is hard to come by, you'll see scarcity everywhere, while opportunities for abundance pass right by your awareness. This isn't just psychology, this is neuroscience. Your brain literally shapes your perception of reality based on what you believe to be true. Two people can walk down the same street and have completely different experiences because their reticular activating systems are tuned to different frequencies. One sees danger and hardship. The other sees opportunity and beauty. Same street, different beliefs, different realities. Think about when you learned a new word and suddenly started hearing it everywhere. Or when you decided you wanted a specific car and suddenly saw that model everywhere you went. The word was always being used. The cars were always on the road. but your reticular activating system wasn't tuned to notice them until they became relevant to you. Now imagine applying this understanding to your entire life. Your beliefs are literally tuning your perception to a specific channel of reality. And if that channel is programmed with limitation, with scarcity, with unworthiness, then that's the reality you'll experience, not because that's all there is, but because that's all you're tuned to see. This is why positive thinking alone doesn't work. You can affirm all day long that you're abundant, but if your subconscious programming believes you're not worthy of wealth, if your reticular activating system is tuned to scarcity, if your nervous system is calibrated to the frequency of struggle, those affirmations will bounce off the surface of your consciousness without penetrating the deep programming. It's like trying to install new software without uninstalling the old conflicting program first. The system crashes. The change doesn't stick. But here's where hope enters the picture, where possibility breaks through, where the prison walls start to crack. Your brain is neuroplastic. That means it can be rewired. Those neural pathways that have been running the same programs for decades can be weakened, dismantled, and replaced with new pathways. Those beliefs that were installed without your consent can be questioned, rejected, and replaced with truths that actually serve you. That reticular activating system can be retuned to a different frequency. Your nervous system can be recalibrated to expect ease instead of struggle, abundance instead of scarcity, love instead of rejection. This isn't wishful thinking. This is cutting-edge neuroscience. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every emotion you feel creates a physical, measurable change in your brain. When you repeatedly think a new thought, you strengthen the neural pathway associated with that thought. When you consistently challenge an old belief, you weaken the neural pathway associated with that belief. Your brain doesn't care if a belief is true or false, empowering or limiting. It simply reinforces whatever patterns you repeat most often. So let's get practical for a moment. Let's identify some of these invisible bars that might be keeping you imprisoned. Do you believe that success requires sacrifice? That's a bar. Do you believe that you have to choose between doing what you love and making good money? That's a bar. Do you believe that your past determines your future? That's a bar. Do you believe that change is hard and takes a long time? That's a bar. Do you believe that you're too old, too young, too inexperienced, too damaged, too ordinary to achieve extraordinary things? Those are all bars. And here's the truth that will begin to dissolve them. None of these beliefs are objectively true. They're just thoughts. Thoughts that got repeated so often they hardened into beliefs. Thoughts that got reinforced by your experiences because your reticular activating system was tuned to confirm them. But they're not facts. They're not laws of the universe. They're simply programs. And programs can be changed. Right now, in this very moment, you have the power to question every limiting belief you've ever held. You have the authority to reject every program that doesn't serve your highest vision. You have the capacity to install new beliefs that align with who you're becoming, rather than who you've been. This isn't about pretending that your challenges don't exist. This isn't about denying your past experiences. This is about recognizing that those experiences don't have to define your future unless you allow them to. This is about understanding that the meaning you assigned to those experiences is not the only possible meaning. This is about reclaiming your power to interpret your life through a different lens. When you begin to see your beliefs as choices rather than facts, everything shifts. When you recognize that you've been operating from downloaded programming rather than your true nature, Freedom becomes possible when you understand that your brain has been hacked by other people's limitations. You can begin the process of reclaiming your own mind. And when you reclaim your mind, you reclaim your power to create your reality. The invisible prison only remains invisible as long as you don't question it. The moment you shine the light of awareness on these limiting beliefs, they begin to lose their power. The moment you recognize them as programs rather than truth, they begin to dissolve. The moment you decide that you are the authority on what's possible for your life, the walls start to crumble. I want you to feel something right now. Feel the weight of carrying beliefs that were never yours. Feel the exhaustion of trying to succeed while unconscious programs sabotage you. Feel the frustration of wanting more, but being held back by invisible limitations. Really feel it. And now, in this moment, make a decision. Decide that you're done. Done living someone else's version of your life. Done accepting limitations that you never chose. Done staying small to make your programming comfortable. Decide that from this moment forward, you are the conscious creator of your beliefs. You are the intentional programmer of your mind. You are the sovereign authority of your own consciousness. This decision is not emotional. It's not temporary. It's a quantum shift in your identity. From this moment on, you are no longer the prisoner. You are not even the person escaping the prison. You are the one who recognizes that the prison was always an illusion, that the bars were always just beliefs, that freedom was always available. And with that recognition, the prison disappears, not because you destroyed it, but because you saw through it. And what you see through can no longer contain you. As you prepare to continue this journey, as you get ready to dive even deeper into the mechanics of transformation, carry this truth with you. Every limitation you've accepted is just a belief. Every boundary you've respected is just a program. Every can't you've internalized is just conditioning. And none of it, absolutely none of it, is stronger than your conscious choice to believe differently. The invisible prison only had power because you couldn't see it. Now you see it, and seeing changes everything. The walls are already dissolving. The bars are already bending. The door is already opening, and you, finally, are stepping into the vast, unlimited, magnificent reality that's been waiting for you all along. Take a moment now to acknowledge what just happened. You've begun the process of liberation. You've started to see through the illusion. You've recognized that you are not your programming. This awareness alone has already changed your brain. New neural pathways are forming. Old patterns are weakening. The transformation is not coming. It's already happening, right now, in this very moment. And it will continue to deepen and expand as we move forward. Rest in this knowing. Trust this process. Your power is returning, and nothing can stop it now. Chapter 3. The Science of the Impossible. When neuroscience and quantum physics prove your power. There's a revolution happening in science right now, and most people have no idea how radically it changes everything we thought we knew about reality. For centuries, we've been taught that we're separate from the world around us, that we're observers watching a fixed, objective reality unfold according to immutable laws. We've been told that matter is solid, that the past is unchangeable, that our biology determines our destiny. But in laboratories around the world, scientists are discovering something that mystics and sages have known for thousands of years. We are not separate observers of reality. We are active participants in its creation. Our consciousness doesn't just perceive the universe. It shapes it, And when you truly understand the implications of this, when you grasp what modern physics is actually revealing about the nature of existence, you'll never see yourself or your limitations the same way again. Let me take you into the quantum realm for a moment, into the strange and fascinating world of subatomic particles, where the rules of everyday reality break down completely.
At the quantum level, particles exist in what's called superposition, which means they exist in all possible states simultaneously until they're observed. This isn't philosophy. This isn't metaphor. This is measurable, repeatable, scientifically verified fact. An electron, until it's measured, doesn't have a definite position or momentum. It exists as a probability wave, a field of potential, occupying all possible locations at once.
But the moment a conscious observer looks at it, the moment measurement occurs, something extraordinary happens. The wave function collapses. All those infinite possibilities collapse into one specific reality. The act of observation literally determins which reality manifests. Now stay with me here, because this gets even more incredible. In the famous double-slit experiment, scientists shoot particles at a barrier with 2 slits. When no one's watching, the particles behave like waves, going through both slits simultaneously and creating an interference pattern. But when scientists observe which slit the particle goes through, it behaves like a solid particle and goes through only one slit. The particle literally changes its behavior based on whether it's being observed. It's as if the universe is waiting for consciousness to make a choice before deciding what to become. The implications of this are staggering. If subatomic particles, the building blocks of all matter, behave this way, and if everything in the physical universe is made of these particles, then everything exists in a state of probability until consciousness collapses it into a specific reality. This means that right now, in this very moment, you're not living in a fixed, predetermined reality. You're living in a field of infinite possibilities, and your consciousness, your observation, your expectation is constantly collapsing specific possibilities into your lived experience. The life you're living right now is just one possibility that your consciousness has been consistently collapsing into form. But there are countless other versions of your life existing simultaneously in the quantum field as pure potential. Versions where you're already successful. Versions where you're already healthy. Versions where you're already living your dream life. These aren't fantasies. They're actual probability waves waiting for your consciousness to collapse them into your reality. Now let's connect this to your brain, because this is where quantum physics meets neuroscience in a way that will blow your mind. Your brain is the most complex structure in the known universe, with roughly 86 billion neurons, each capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons. These neurons communicate through electrical signals and chemical messengers, creating patterns of activation that correspond to your thoughts, memories, emotions, and behaviors. And here's the crucial part. These neural patterns are not fixed. They're constantly changing, constantly reorganizing, constantly forming new connections and pruning old ones. This is neuroplasticity, and it means your brain is literally reshaping itself every single day based on what you think, what you focus on, what you repeatedly do. Every time you think a thought, you create a neural pathway. Think that thought often enough, and the pathway becomes a superhighway, an automatic program that runs without conscious effort. This is how habits form. This is how beliefs become hardwired. But here's where it gets exciting. Because your brain is neuroplastic, you can deliberately create new neural pathways. You can weaken old patterns and strengthen new ones. You can literally rewire your brain to support the life you want to create, rather than perpetuate the patterns of the past. And when you change your neural patterns, when you change the habitual activation of your brain, you change the signals you're sending to the quantum field. You change what you're collapsing into reality. Think about this. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something vividly imagined and something actually experienced. When you visualize yourself succeeding, when you feel the emotions of already having what you desire, when you mentally rehearse your ideal future, your brain creates the same neural patterns it would create if that future was actually happening. This isn't pretending. This isn't fantasy. This is installation. You're literally installing the neural hardware for your new reality before it manifests in physical form. And as those neural patterns strengthen, as they become more familiar to your brain than the old patterns, your consciousness begins collapsing different probabilities from the quantum field. You begin noticing opportunities you couldn't see before. You begin taking actions you wouldn't have taken before. You begin attracting circumstances and people that match your new frequency. Scientists have proven this in study after study. Basketball players who mentally rehearse free throws improve almost as much as players who physically practice. Musicians who visualize playing their instrument create measurable improvements in their skill. Stroke victims who imagine moving paralyzed limbs begin to regain function. Your brain responds to mental rehearsal as if it's real experience, because, to your neurons, it is real. The electrical patterns, the chemical cascades, the synaptic connections, they all form regardless of whether the experience is happening in the external world or in your inner world of imagination. Now let me introduce you to another crucial concept from neuroscience that explains why transformation can be so challenging and why, once you understand the mechanism, it becomes inevitable. Your brain operates largely on autopilot, running programs stored in your subconscious mind. Studies show that 95% of your daily thoughts, behaviors, and emotional reactions are unconscious automatic programs. Only 5% of your day is run by your conscious, intentional mind. This means that for the vast majority of your waking life, you're not actually present. You're not making conscious choices. You're simply running recorded programs from your past. These programs reside in your subconscious mind, which controls your autonomic nervous system, your habits, your emotional responses, and your deeply held beliefs. And here's the challenge. Your subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind when it comes to processing information and running your body and behavior. So you can consciously want something with all your heart. You can set intentions and make plans and use your willpower. But if your subconscious programming contradicts what you consciously want, the subconscious wins every time. This is why people can genuinely desire success, but sabotage themselves. Why they can want love, but push people away. Why they can intend to change, but keep repeating the same patterns. But here's the breakthrough. Here's where science gives us the key to unlock transformation. Your subconscious mind learns through repetition and emotion. It doesn't respond to logic or reason. It responds to feelings and patterns. This is why you can't think your way into a new reality. You have to feel your way into it. When you combine a new thought with an elevated emotion, when you pair your vision of the future with the feeling of already living it, you create a powerful signal that begins to override the old programming. Do this consistently, and you don't just change your mind. You change your brain. You don't just imagine a new future. You install the neural circuitry for that future, and your subconscious mind Recognizing this new pattern as the dominant frequency begins to operate from this new program rather than the old one. This is where quantum physics and neuroscience converge into a unified understanding of personal transformation. The quantum field contains all possibilities. Your brain is the instrument through which you select which possibility to experience. Your habitual thoughts and emotions determine which neural patterns dominate. These dominant neural patterns determine what frequency you're vibrating at, and the frequency you vibrate at determines which possibilities from the quantum field collapse into your lived reality. It's a complete circuit, a self-reinforcing system, and once you understand this system, once you see how it works, you can consciously work with it instead of being unconsciously controlled by it. Let me share something with you that researchers have discovered about heart-brain coherence, because it adds another crucial dimension to this understanding. Your heart is not just a pump. It has its own nervous system, a heart-brain that processes information and makes decisions independent of your cranial brain. Your heart generates the strongest electromagnetic field in your body, 5,000 times more powerful than the field produced by your brain. And this electromagnetic field extends several feet beyond your body, interacting with the quantum field around you. When your heart and brain are in coherent rhythm, when you're feeling elevated emotions like gratitude, joy, love, or inspiration, your heart's electromagnetic field becomes highly ordered and powerful. This coherent field literally broadcasts your intentions into the quantum field with far greater power than thoughts alone. Studies at the HeartMath Institute have shown that heart coherence improves cognitive function, enhances intuition, and increases your ability to manifest desired outcomes. When you're in a state of heart-brain coherence, you're operating as a unified quantum system, sending a clear, powerful signal to the field of possibilities. But when you're in stress, fear, frustration, or anxiety, your heart rhythm becomes chaotic, your brain shifts into survival mode, and the signal you're broadcasting is one of lack, limitation, and danger. The quantum field responds accordingly, collapsing possibilities that match that frequency. This is why you can't create a new future while living in the emotions of your past. The electromagnetic signature of those old emotions keeps collapsing the same old realities. Everything we've talked about so far, all of this science, leads to one inescapable conclusion. You are not a powerless victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of your genetics, your past, or your environment. You are a quantum creator, a conscious observer with the ability to collapse specific realities from an infinite field of possibilities. Your brain is a sophisticated instrument that can be tuned to any frequency. Your heart is a powerful broadcaster that amplifies your intentions, and the quantum field is an infinitely responsive medium that shapes itself according to the patterns of consciousness you consistently hold. The only reason you haven't been consciously creating your reality is because you didn't know you could. You didn't understand the mechanism. You thought you were separate from the world around you, a small, isolated self trying to navigate a vast, indifferent universe. But science is revealing what mystics have always known. There is no separation. You are not in the universe. You are an expression of the universe. Your consciousness is not separate from the consciousness that underlies all of reality. And just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, you are not separate from the infinite creative power that continuously births all existence. This is not mysticism. This is not wishful thinking. This is what the evidence is telling us. When physicists peer into the deepest levels of reality, they find not solid matter, but probability waves. When neuroscientists study the brain, they find not fixed structures, but dynamic, changeable patterns. When researchers investigate consciousness, they find not a byproduct of matter, but potentially the fundamental ground of existence itself. The materialist worldview that dominated science for centuries is crumbling under the weight of evidence, and in its place, a new understanding is emerging, one that places consciousness at the center of creation. What does this mean for you, practically, tangibly, in your everyday life? It means that the impossible is only impossible until you understand the mechanism that makes it possible. It means that your current circumstances, no matter how challenging, are not permanent fixtures of reality, but temporary collapses of probability that can be changed by changing your consciousness. It means that the future is not predetermined, but is being created moment by moment through the interaction between your consciousness and the quantum field. And it means that you have far more power than you've been taught to believe. When you walk into a room tomorrow, you're not walking into a fixed, solid reality. You're walking into a field of quantum potential that your consciousness will immediately begin collapsing into specific experiences based on your expectations, your beliefs, your emotional state, and your neural patterns. Two people can walk into the same room and have completely different experiences because they're collapsing different probabilities based on their different internal states. This is why mindset matters. This is why beliefs create reality. This is why your thoughts and feelings are not just internal experiences, but creative forces that shape your external world. The science is clear. Your brain can be rewired. Your subconscious can be reprogrammed. Your heart can be brought into coherence. Your consciousness can be elevated to collapse higher probabilities from the quantum field. This is not theory. This is not hope. This is mechanism. And mechanisms can be learned, practiced, mastered. You don't need to understand every detail of quantum physics or neuroscience to use these principles any more than you need to understand the physics of electricity to turn on a light. You just need to know which switch to flip. And the switch is your consciousness. The switch is where you place your attention, what thoughts you think repeatedly, what emotions you cultivate consistently, what vision of the future you hold with unwavering clarity. Every great breakthrough in human history, every impossible dream that became reality, every limitation that was transcended happened because someone refused to accept the boundaries of what was considered possible. They didn't have less evidence against them than you have now. They didn't face fewer obstacles or have more advantages. What they had was an unwavering belief in a reality that didn't yet exist, coupled with the willingness to act as if that reality was inevitable. And by holding that vision with emotional intensity and backing it with consistent action, they collapsed it from the quantum field of possibility into physical manifestation. You are no different from them. You have the same brain, the same consciousness, the same access to the quantum field. The only difference is awareness. They knew, consciously or unconsciously, that they were creators. And now you know it too. Not as a belief you have to convince yourself of, but as a scientific fact supported by the most rigorous research in physics and neuroscience. Your consciousness matters. Your thoughts matter. Your emotions matter. Not in some vague metaphysical way, but in a precise, measurable, reality-shaping way. As you absorb these truths, as you let them sink into the deepest levels of your being, something fundamental is shifting. The old paradigm of separation and powerlessness is dissolving. The new paradigm of connection and creative power is taking its place. And this isn't just an intellectual shift. This is a neural shift. New pathways are forming in your brain right now. Old programs are weakening. Your consciousness is expanding to encompass a larger understanding of what you are and what you're capable of. The impossible is becoming possible. The improbable is becoming probable. And the life you've been dreaming of is shifting from a distant fantasy to an approaching reality. Not because of magic, not because the universe is doing you a favor, but because you're learning to work with the fundamental mechanisms of reality creation. You're learning to be what you've always been but forgot. A conscious creator, a quantum artist, an unstoppable force of intentional manifestation. And now that you know the science behind your power, nothing can convince you otherwise. The evidence is in. The verdict is clear. You are, and always have been, far more powerful than you ever imagined. Rest now in this knowing. Let these scientific truths settle into your nervous system. You don't need to force anything or make anything happen. Simply by understanding these principles, simply by opening to this new paradigm, you've already begun the transformation. Your brain is rewiring. Your heart is calibrating to a new frequency. Your consciousness is expanding. And the quantum field is responding. Trust this process. Trust this science. Trust yourself. The impossible is becoming your new normal, and it's only just beginning. Chapter 4. The Magnetic State of Being. How your vibration creates your reality. Everything is energy. You've probably heard that statement before, but I want you to really feel what it means because your entire transformation hinges on understanding this at a level deeper than intellectual knowledge. Right now, as you read these words, you are not a solid object sitting in a fixed location. You are a dynamic field of vibrating energy. Every atom in your body is 99.9999% empty space, with subatomic particles moving at incredible speeds, creating the illusion of solidity. But beneath that illusion, you are pure energy in motion, and that energy has a frequency, a vibration, a specific signature that broadcasts out into the field around you, like a radio station transmitting a signal. This vibration, this energetic signature, is what determines what you attract into your life. Not your wishes, not your goals, not even your actions. Your state of being, your vibrational frequency, is the magnet that draws your reality to you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to get things, do things, achieve things, believing that when they finally have what they want, they'll feel happy, abundant, successful, loved. But this is backwards. This is the fundamental misunderstanding that keeps people stuck in cycles of striving and disappointment. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. You don't get happy when you succeed. You succeed when you become happy. You don't become abundant when you get money. You get money when you become abundant. The doing doesn't create the being. The being creates the doing and the having. Your external reality is always, without exception, a perfect mirror of your internal state. And your internal state is determined by your vibration. Think of the universe as an infinite field of responsive energy, like an ocean of pure potential. Your consciousness is constantly sending out ripples into this ocean through your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your expectations. These ripples carry a specific frequency, and the universe responds by sending back experiences, circumstances, people, and opportunities that match that frequency. This isn't mystical. This is resonance. Just as a tuning fork will cause another tuning fork of the same frequency to vibrate, your energetic frequency activates corresponding frequencies in the quantum field. You're always manifesting. You're always attracting. The question is not whether you're creating your reality, but what frequency you're creating from. When you're vibrating at the frequency of lack, when you're thinking thoughts of scarcity, feeling emotions of unworthiness, carrying beliefs of limitation, you send out a signal that says, I don't have enough, I'm not enough, there's not enough. And the universe, being perfectly responsive, sends back experiences that match that signal, not because it's punishing you, not because you're unlucky, but because it's giving you exactly what you're asking for through your vibration. You might consciously want abundance, but if you're unconsciously vibrating lack is what manifests. You might consciously desire love, but if you're unconsciously vibrating unworthiness is what you'll experience. The universe doesn't hear your words. It doesn't read your vision boards. It responds to your frequency. Now here's where this understanding becomes the key to everything you've been trying to create. If your vibration determines what you attract, and if you can consciously change your vibration, then you can consciously change what you attract. You can become a deliberate creator instead of a default attractor. You can stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your reality. But this requires a fundamental shift in how you approach life. Instead of trying to change your circumstances, hoping they'll make you feel different, you have to feel different first, and then watch your circumstances change to match your new frequency. Let me give you a concrete example of how this works. Imagine someone who desperately wants financial abundance. They work hard, they hustle, they push, they strive. But underneath all that effort, they're vibrating fear. Fear of not having enough. Fear of falling behind. Fear of failure. Every action they take is motivated by trying to escape the feeling of lack. And what happens? No matter how hard they work, they keep experiencing lack. Money comes in and immediately flows out. Opportunities appear but don't quite work out. They're always one step behind, always catching up, always struggling. Why? Because their vibration is set to lack. They're trying to use action to compensate for their frequency, but frequency always wins. Now imagine a different person who has internally embodied the feeling of abundance. They feel wealthy before they have physical evidence of wealth. They operate from a sense of overflow rather than scarcity. They trust that resources are always available. They're relaxed, confident, appreciative of what they have, while excited about what's coming. Their actions come from inspiration rather than desperation. And what happens? Money flows to them with ease. Opportunities find them. People want to help them. Resources appear at the perfect time. They're in the flow, not because they're luckier, not because they have special advantages, but because their vibration is set to abundance, and the universe is matching that frequency with abundant circumstances. This is what I mean by the magnetic state of being. When you embody the energy of what you desire before it manifests physically, you become a magnet for it. When you feel successful before you have external success, you attract success. When you feel loved before you have a relationship, you attract love. When you feel healthy before your body completely heals, you accelerate healing. You're not pretending. You're not faking it. You're tuning your energetic frequency to match the reality you want to experience. And in doing so, you're collapsing that reality from the quantum field of possibilities. But here's where most people get tripped up. They try to feel abundant while simultaneously looking at their bank account, and feeling lack. They try to feel successful while simultaneously comparing themselves to others and feeling inadequate. They try to feel loved while simultaneously focusing on their loneliness. And they wonder why it's not working. It's not working because you can't hold two opposing frequencies at the same time and expect the higher one to dominate. If you're oscillating between the frequency of your desire and the frequency of your current reality, you're creating static. You're sending mixed signals, and the universe doesn't know which one you really mean. This is why the present moment is so crucial to manifestation. When you're focused on your past, you're vibrating at the frequency of what was. When you're worried about your future, you're vibrating at the frequency of what you fear. But when you're fully present, when you're in the now, you have access to pure creative power. Because in the present moment, you can choose which frequency you want to embody. You can choose to feel grateful right now, regardless of circumstances. You can choose to feel abundant right now, regardless of your bank balance. You can choose to feel loved right now, regardless of whether you're in a relationship. And when you make that choice, when you consciously select your frequency in the present moment, you activate the magnetic power of your being. Let me share with you what happens in your body when you shift your vibration. When you feel elevated emotions, when you experience joy, gratitude, love, excitement, inspiration, your body chemistry changes dramatically. Your brain releases dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These are the molecules of elevated states. Your heart moves into coherence, generating a powerful, organized, electromagnetic field. Your nervous system shifts from survival mode to creation mode. Your immune system strengthens. Your energy levels increase. Your perception expands. You become more intuitive. You notice opportunities you couldn't see before. You think thoughts you couldn't access before. You take actions you wouldn't have taken before. Everything changes, not because the world changed, but because your frequency changed. And here's the beautiful feedback loop that occurs. When you feel good, you attract experiences that make you feel good, which makes it easier to feel good, which attracts more positive experiences. You create an upward spiral, a momentum of positive energy that builds on itself. This is why people who are successful seem to get more successful, why people who are happy seem to get happier, why people who are healthy seem to get healthier. They're not just lucky. They've tapped into the magnetic power of elevated states. They're vibrating at frequencies that attract more of what they already are. The opposite is also true. When you feel negative emotions, when you experience stress, anxiety, anger, resentment, frustration, your body releases cortisol and other stress hormones. Your heart rhythm becomes chaotic. Your nervous system goes into survival mode. Your perception narrows to focus on threats. Your creative centers shut down. You become reactive instead of responsive. And you attract experiences that match that frequency, which generates more stress, which reinforces the pattern. It's a downward spiral that most people are caught in without realizing they have the power to interrupt it. But you're different. You're becoming aware of the mechanism. You're learning to work with energy consciously. And that awareness itself is already shifting your frequency, simply by understanding that you're an energetic being, that your vibration matters, that you have the power to choose your state, regardless of circumstances. You've already begun to claim your magnetic power. You've already started the process of becoming a deliberate attractor, rather than a default victim. Now I want you to grasp something profound about the nature of this magnetic state. It's not something you have to create. It's something you have to remember. Your natural state, the state you were born in, is high vibration. Watch a young child who hasn't been conditioned yet. They're in wonder. They're in joy. They're in the present moment. They're magnetically attractive. People want to be around them. Energy flows to them. They manifest what they need effortlessly because they're operating from their natural frequency. But then conditioning happens. They learn to worry. They learn to doubt. They learn to fear. They take on other people's frequencies, and gradually, their natural high vibration gets buried under layers of learned limitation. Your work now is not to become something new. It's to return to what you've always been, to peel away the layers of low-frequency conditioning and reveal the high-frequency being that's been there all along. Every time you choose gratitude over complaint, you're returning to your natural state. Every time you choose love over fear, you're returning to your natural state. Every time you choose presence over worry, you're returning to your natural state. And as you return to this state more consistently, you'll notice something magical happening. Life gets easier. Synchronicities increase. Opportunities appear. The right people show up at the right time. Resources flow to you, not because you're special, but because you're finally operating at your true frequency, and reality is organizing itself to match that frequency. This is the secret that masters throughout history have known. They understood that being precedes having, that consciousness creates reality, that your energetic state is the cause, and your physical circumstances are the effect. And they used this understanding to create what others called miracles. But there are no miracles. There's only alignment. When your vibration aligns perfectly with what you desire, manifestation is not miraculous. It's inevitable. It's simply the natural consequence of energetic alignment. Think about someone you know who seems to effortlessly attract good things into their life. They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented. They probably don't work harder. But they have something you might have been lacking. A consistently high vibration. They've learned, consciously or unconsciously, to maintain an elevated energetic state regardless of external circumstances. They've mastered the art of being the energy of what they desire. And because they've mastered this, they experience a reality that matches their mastery. You can do the same, starting right now, starting tonight. You don't have to wait until your circumstances improve. You don't have to wait until you have evidence that it's working. You can make the decision right now to shift your frequency, to choose gratitude for what you have while feeling excitement for what's coming, to embody the energy of your desired reality before it manifests, to become magnetic by being the vibration of what you want to attract. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't affirmations. This isn't pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is a fundamental energetic shift. This is you claiming your power as a vibrational being. This is you recognizing that you're not waiting for your reality to change so you can feel better. You're feeling better so your reality can change. And that distinction makes all the difference. As you lie down tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you're going to practice this. You're going to consciously choose your vibration. You're going to feel into the emotions of your desired reality as if it's already here. Not as a mental exercise, but as an energetic embodiment. You're going to let your body feel what it would feel like to already be living your dream life. To already have what you desire. To already be who you're becoming. And as you fall asleep in that elevated state, your subconscious mind will receive the signal. Your nervous system will calibrate to that frequency. Your electromagnetic field will broadcast that vibration into the quantum field. And while you sleep, the universe will begin rearranging circumstances orchestrating synchronicities and aligning opportunities to match your new frequency. This is not wishful thinking. This is not fantasy. This is working with the fundamental laws of energy and vibration that govern all of reality. You are energy. Your vibration matters. Your state of being creates your state of having. And when you truly embody this understanding, when you live from this knowing, you become unstoppable. Not because nothing can challenge you, but because no circumstance can lower your vibration unless you allow it. You become the eye of the storm, calm, centered, powerful in your knowing that you are the source of your magnetic attraction. Everything you desire is already vibrating in the quantum field, waiting for you to match its frequency. And tonight, you begin that matching. Tonight, you step into your magnetic state of being. Tonight, you remember who you truly are, a powerful, vibrational being with the ability to attract any reality you can embody. The universe is listening, the field is responding, and your transformation from trying to attract to simply being attractive is already underway. Feel this truth settling into every cell of your body. You are energy, you are vibration, you are magnetic, and from this moment forward, you consciously choose the frequency you broadcast. You consciously embody the state of being that matches your desired reality. You consciously claim your power as a vibrational creator. This is not something you'll do someday. This is who you are now. Rest in this knowing. Breathe into this truth, and let your entire being resonate with the frequency of your unstoppable, magnetic nature. Chapter 5. The Alchemy of Emotions. Transforming feelings into manifestation fuel. If thoughts are the language of the mind, then emotions are the language of the body. And here's what most people don't understand about manifestation. What keeps them spinning their wheels with affirmations and vision boards that never quite materialize into reality. Thinking alone doesn't create. Feeling creates. You can think about being abundant 1,000 times a day. You can visualize your dream life in perfect detail. You can affirm your worthiness until your voice goes hoarse. But if you're not feeling the emotions that match those thoughts, you're not creating anything. You're just thinking. And thinking without feeling is like having a car with no fuel. The vehicle is there. The destination is programmed. But nothing moves. Emotion is the fuel that propels your thoughts from the realm of possibility into the realm of manifestation. Emotion is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the quantum and the physical, between who you are becoming and who you are being. Let me explain why emotions are so unbelievably powerful in the creation process. Every emotion you feel generates a specific electromagnetic signature that radiates from your heart and permeates every cell of your body. When you feel joy, your cells literally vibrate at a different frequency than when you feel fear. When you feel gratitude, your heart creates a coherent electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your body. When you feel love, you activate gene sequences that remain dormant when you're in stress. Your emotions are not just internal experiences happening in isolation. They are energetic broadcasts that interact directly with the quantum field, sending out signals that the universe receives and responds to with mathematical precision. Research has shown that the heart's electromagnetic field is 5,000 times stronger than the brain's electromagnetic field. Think about that. Your heart is not just pumping blood. It's generating the most powerful energetic signal in your body, and that signal is directly influenced by your emotional state. When you're in elevated emotions, when you're feeling states like joy, gratitude, inspiration, love. Your heart creates what's called a coherent electromagnetic field. This coherent field is highly organized, powerful, and clear. It broadcasts your intentions into the quantum field with tremendous force. But when you're in survival emotions, when you're feeling stress, fear, anger, frustration, your heart's electromagnetic field becomes chaotic, disorganized, weak. The signal you're broadcasting is scrambled, contradictory, unclear, and the universe, receiving this chaotic signal, returns chaotic results. Now here's where this understanding becomes transformative. Most people are living their lives from survival emotions. They wake up stressed. They go through their day anxious. They interact with others defensively. They make decisions from fear. They react to circumstances with frustration. And they wonder why their life feels like a constant struggle, why good things don't come easily, why they can't seem to break through to the next level. It's because they're creating from the wrong emotional state. They're trying to build a future of abundance, love, health, and success, while broadcasting the electromagnetic signature of lack, loneliness, illness, and failure. And it doesn't work. It can't work. Because emotion is the magnetic force that draws your reality to you. And if your dominant emotions are low-frequency survival emotions, you will continue to attract survival circumstances. But the moment you understand this mechanism, the moment you realize that your emotions are not just reactions to your circumstances, but the creative force shaping your circumstances, everything changes. You stop being a victim of how you feel and become the master of your emotional state. You recognize that you don't have to wait for something good to happen to feel good. You can choose to feel good first, and then watch good things happen as a result of that feeling. This is the alchemy. This is the transformation of base metal into gold. You're taking the raw material of your emotional capacity and consciously directing it toward creation, rather than letting it unconsciously perpetuate limitation. Let me show you exactly how this works in the manifestation process. When you think a thought, you create a possibility. When you add emotion to that thought, you inject energy into that possibility. The stronger the emotion, the more energy you inject. The more frequently you feel that emotion while thinking that thought, the more you strengthen the electromagnetic signal broadcasting that possibility. Eventually, if you sustain the thought-emotion combination long enough with sufficient intensity, that possibility collapses from the quantum field into your physical reality. This is not metaphysics. This is energy mechanics. You're literally using the electromagnetic field generated by your heart's emotional state to pull potential realities from the quantum field into manifestation. This is why people who are passionate about something tend to achieve it, not just because they work hard, but because passion is a high-frequency emotion that generates tremendous creative power. When you're passionate, your entire being aligns with what you're creating. Your thoughts focus naturally on it. Your emotions elevate consistently around it. Your actions flow effortlessly toward it. You become a unified field of creative intention, and the universe has no choice but to respond by manifesting circumstances that match that unified field. Compare this to someone who wants something but feels apathetic about it, or worse, feels doubt and fear around it. They might take action, but their actions are not backed by emotional power. They're going through the motions without the fuel. And motion without emotion creates minimal results. Now I need to address something crucial about negative emotions because this is where a lot of confusion exists in the manifestation community. You're not supposed to suppress negative emotions. You're not supposed to pretend you don't feel what you feel. You're not supposed to gaslight yourself into positivity when you're genuinely hurting. That's not alchemy. That's repression. And repressed emotions don't disappear. They go underground, where they continue to broadcast their frequency unconsciously, sabotaging your conscious intentions. Real emotional alchemy involves feeling your emotions fully, allowing them to move through you, and then consciously choosing to shift into a different emotional state once you've honored what you're feeling. Think of emotions like waves in the ocean. They rise, they peak, they fall. If you try to stop a wave, you create turbulence. If you allow the wave to complete its natural cycle, it dissolves back into the ocean and calm returns. Your emotions work the same way. When you feel anger, feel it fully. Don't act on it destructively, but feel it in your body. Let it move through you. And when it completes its cycle, when the wave passes, you have a choice. You can immediately think another thought that generates another wave of anger, or you can consciously choose a thought that generates a different emotion. This is mastery, not the suppression of emotion, but the conscious selection of which emotions you're going to cultivate and sustain. Here's a practice that will change everything for you. Start becoming aware of your emotional baseline. What emotion do you spend most of your time in? Is it stress, anxiety, frustration, boredom, contentment, enthusiasm? Most people don't even realize they have an emotional baseline because they're so identified with their emotions that they can't observe them objectively. But you can. You can step back and notice what you're feeling without being what you're feeling. And once you notice your baseline, you can begin to consciously elevate it, not by forcing yourself to feel something you don't feel, but by finding genuine access points to higher emotions within your current reality. Maybe you can't jump from depression to joy in one leap, but you can move from depression to contentment by finding something to appreciate right now. Maybe you can't go from anxiety to excitement immediately, but you can shift from anxiety to curiosity by asking yourself empowering questions. You can always find an emotional state that's slightly higher than where you currently are, and by consistently reaching for that slightly higher state, you begin to raise your emotional set point. Over time, what used to be your peak emotional state becomes your baseline. And as your baseline rises, so does the quality of your reality, because you're broadcasting a higher frequency signal to the quantum field. Let me tell you about the most powerful emotions for manifestation, so you know where to direct your attention. Gratitude is at the top of the list. When you feel genuine gratitude, you're acknowledging that you've already received. You're vibrating at the frequency of having. And when you vibrate at the frequency of having, you attract more to be grateful for. This is why gratitude practices are so effective when they're done with real feeling, rather than just rote list-making. You're not being grateful to manipulate the universe into giving you more. You're being grateful because gratitude itself is a high-frequency state that feels good to inhabit and naturally attracts matching circumstances. Joy is another powerful creative emotion, not a happiness that depends on external circumstances, but joy that rises from deep within you for no particular reason. This is the joy of existence itself, the joy of being alive, the joy of consciousness experiencing itself. When you tap into this unconditional joy, you're accessing a frequency that's so high, so pure, that it naturally elevates everything around you. People feel better in your presence. Opportunities open up effortlessly. Your creativity flows. Your intuition sharpens. Everything becomes easier because you're operating from the highest octave of creative power. Love, of course, is the ultimate creative force. Not the romantic attachment kind of love that depends on someone else, but the unconditional love that you can feel for life itself, for existence, for the miracle of consciousness. When you embody this love, when you look at the world through eyes of love, when you treat yourself and others with love, you're vibrating at a frequency that has no resistance. Everything you desire flows to you naturally, because love is the fundamental frequency of the universe itself. You're aligning with the source code of reality. And then there's excitement, enthusiasm, passion. These emotions tell you that you're aligned with your authentic path. They're not just nice feelings. They're guidance signals from your higher self, showing you which direction to move. When you feel excited about something, that excitement is fuel. Use it. Let it propel you into action. Let it sustain you through challenges. Let it broadcast to the universe that you're ready for whatever that excitement is pointing you toward. The universe responds to excitement by opening doors, arranging synchronicities, and bringing you exactly what you need to follow that excitement to its fulfillment. But here's what you need to understand about all of these elevated emotions. You can't think your way into them. You have to feel your way into them. And the way you feel your way into them is by using your imagination combined with your sensory awareness. This is where the real magic happens. When you imagine your desired future, and you engage all of your senses in that imagination, when you see it, hear it, feel it, smell it, taste it in your mind with such vividness that your body responds as if it's actually happening, you generate the emotions that match that future. And those emotions, remember, are the electromagnetic broadcasts that begin collapsing that future into your present reality. Your body doesn't know the difference between an experience that's actually happening and an experience that you're vividly imagining with full sensory engagement and emotional intensity. This is proven neuroscience. Your brain fires the same neurons, releases the same chemicals, creates the same patterns, whether you're physically experiencing something or mentally rehearsing it with full feeling. So when you imagine your dream life with such detail and emotion that your body believes it's happening right now, you're not fantasizing. You're installing. You're creating the neural architecture for that reality. You're generating the electromagnetic field that matches that reality. You're becoming the vibrational match for that reality. And when you become the vibrational match, manifestation is inevitable. This is why I keep emphasizing feeling over thinking. A thought is potential, but a thought combined with emotion is power. A thought combined with elevated emotion is creative force. A thought combined with sustained elevated emotion is manifestation in motion. You are not trying to create your reality through mental willpower. You are creating your reality through emotional embodiment. You are becoming energetically what you want to experience physically, and the gap between the energetic becoming and the physical manifestation is simply a matter of time and sustained frequency. Most people give up before the manifestation occurs because they judge by appearances. They don't see immediate results, so they assume it's not working. But what they don't realize is that manifestation happens in layers. First, it happens in consciousness. You shift your awareness to a new possibility. Then it happens energetically. You begin to vibrate at the frequency of that possibility. Then it happens emotionally. You start feeling the emotions that match that possibility. Then it happens in your perception. You begin noticing things you couldn't see before. Then it happens in your behavior. You start taking different actions naturally. Then it happens in your immediate environment. Small synchronicities occur. Then it happens in your relationships. Different people show up, or existing relationships shift. And finally, it happens in your physical circumstances. The full manifestation appears. But people often quit at stage 2 or 3 because they're only looking at stage 7. They're feeling different, they're seeing things differently, they're acting differently, but because their bank account hasn't changed or their relationship status hasn't shifted, they assume failure. Don't make this mistake. Trust the process. Trust that when you consistently maintain elevated emotions, when you regularly feel into your desired reality as if it's already here, when you sustain high-frequency states regardless of current circumstances, the manifestation is already in motion. You just can't see the full picture yet because you're still in the middle of the unfolding. And here's something beautiful that happens when you learn to live from elevated emotions regardless of circumstances. You stop needing the manifestation to feel good because you've learned to feel good regardless of what's manifested. And paradoxically, the moment you stop needing it, the moment you're genuinely happy before it arrives, that's often when it arrives, because need is a low-frequency emotion that broadcasts lack. But joy, gratitude, excitement, independent of circumstances, those are high-frequency emotions that broadcast abundance. And abundance attracts more abundance. As you prepare for sleep tonight, you're going to practice this emotional alchemy. You're going to consciously choose elevated emotions. You're going to feel into the reality you're creating with such intensity that your body believes it's already real. You're going to generate the electromagnetic field that matches your desires. And you're going to fall asleep in that elevated state, allowing those emotions to program your subconscious mind while your conscious mind rests. This is not a mental exercise. This is an energetic transmission. You're broadcasting your new frequency into the field. You're collapsing new possibilities into probability. You're becoming the alchemist of your own reality, transforming the base material of survival emotions into the gold of creative power. Feel this. Know this. Be this. Your emotions are not happening to you. They're happening through you, for you, as you. Master them, and you master your reality. Elevate them, and you elevate your life. Transform them, and you transform everything. The alchemy begins now. Take a deep breath and feel the power of your emotional being. You are not a victim of your feelings. You are the conscious director of your emotional state. You have the power to choose elevation over survival, joy over fear, gratitude over complaint, love over separation. And as you choose, as you feel, as you embody these elevated states, you send ripples of creative power into the quantum field. The universe is receiving your signal. Your reality is reorganizing. Your transformation is accelerating. Rest now in the knowing that your emotions are your creative fuel, and you have an infinite supply. Burn bright, feel deeply, create magnificently. Chapter 6. Nocturnal Reprogramming, the Supreme Power of the Moments Before Sleep. There is a sacred window of time that most people completely overlook, a portal of extraordinary power that opens every single night, a golden opportunity for transformation that you've been sleeping through your entire life. The 15 to 20 minutes before you fall asleep represent the most potent period for reprogramming your subconscious mind, for installing new beliefs, for impressing your desired reality into the deepest layers of your consciousness. And tonight, you're going to learn exactly how to use this window with such precision and power that you'll wake up tomorrow as a fundamentally different person. Not metaphorically different, actually neurologically, energetically, measurably different, because what you do in those final moments of wakefulness doesn't just influence your tomorrow, it programs it. Let me explain why this time is so incredibly powerful. As you transition from wakefulness to sleep, your brain moves through different states of consciousness, measured in hertz, the frequency of your brainwave patterns. When you're fully awake and alert, your brain operates primarily in beta, roughly 13 to 30 hertz, the frequency of active thinking, problem-solving, and conscious awareness. But as you begin to relax and prepare for sleep, you move into alpha, 8 to 12 hertz, a state of relaxed awareness where you're calm but still conscious. Then, as you drift closer to sleep, you enter theta, 4 to 8 hertz, and this is where the magic happens. In theta, the critical faculty of your conscious mind begins to disengage. That inner skeptic, that analytical voice, that protective barrier that normally filters and judges everything you think, it starts to power down, and the doorway to your subconscious mind swings wide open. Think of your conscious mind as a gatekeeper, and your subconscious mind as a vast library where every program, every belief, every pattern that runs your life is stored. During the day, when you're in beta, that gatekeeper is vigilant. It questions everything. It maintains the status quo. It protects the existing programs, even if those programs are limiting you. But in that hypnagogic state between waking and sleeping, in those theta moments, the gatekeeper steps aside. The library is unguarded, and whatever you impress upon your subconscious during this window gets filed directly into that library without resistance, without skepticism, without the normal barriers that prevent change during waking consciousness. This is why children are so programmable. They spend more time in theta than adults do. Their brainwaves naturally operate at lower frequencies, which means their subconscious minds are more open and receptive. Everything they hear, everything they experience, everything they observe gets recorded directly into their subconscious programming with minimal filtering. This is how beliefs get installed in childhood so easily and so permanently. But here's what most people don't realize. You can recreate that same receptive state every single night. You can deliberately enter theta consciousness and use that heightened suggestibility to install whatever programs you choose. You can become the programmer of your own mind, instead of remaining the victim of programs installed by others. Throughout human history, mystics and masters have understood this truth. They've known that the transition between waking and sleeping is a mystical threshold, a crack between worlds where the ordinary rules of consciousness are suspended and extraordinary transformation becomes possible. Ancient traditions speak of this time as when the veil between dimensions is thinnest. Modern neuroscience explains it as the moment when the prefrontal cortex relaxes its executive control and allows direct access to the limbic system and deeper brain structures. Different languages, same truth. This is the moment when you can bypass your limitations and speak directly to the part of you that controls 95% of your life. Now let me show you exactly what's happening in your body during this transition, because understanding the mechanism makes it easier to consciously work with it. As you lie down and begin to relax, your nervous system shifts from sympathetic dominance, the fight-or-flight activation that characterizes daytime consciousness, to parasympathetic dominance, the rest and digest state that allows healing, integration, and regeneration. Your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, your muscles release tension, your body temperature drops slightly. Your brain begins producing melatonin, the hormone that induces sleep, and most importantly, your brain waves begin slowing from beta down through alpha toward theta. This physiological transition is not just preparation for sleep. It's an opportunity for transformation, because as your body relaxes and your brain waves slow, You're entering a highly suggestible state, similar to hypnosis. In fact, this natural state is often more powerful than formal hypnosis because you're doing it yourself, in your own environment, without any external authority figure, which means there's less resistance. You're not trying to be hypnotized. You're simply allowing the natural process of falling asleep, and within that process exists a doorway to direct subconscious programming. Here's what you need to understand about your subconscious mind to use this window effectively. Your subconscious doesn't think, it doesn't analyze, it doesn't judge, it simply accepts and executes. Whatever you consistently impress upon it, it will manifest as your reality. If you've been impressing thoughts of lack, worry, and limitation, especially during this vulnerable window before sleep, your subconscious has been faithfully creating a reality that matches those impressions. But if you begin impressing thoughts of abundance, confidence, and possibility during this same window, your subconscious will just as faithfully create a reality that matches those new impressions. It doesn't care which reality you choose. It simply brings into form whatever you consistently feed it with emotion and repetition during states of heightened receptivity. Most people completely waste this sacred time. They watch disturbing news right before bed, impressing violence and chaos into their subconscious. They scroll through social media, impressing comparison and inadequacy. They replay the day's frustrations, impressing stress and victimhood. They worry about tomorrow's challenges, impressing anxiety and doubt. And then they wonder why they wake up tired, why they have negative dreams, why their days feel heavy before they even begin. They're programming themselves for limitation every single night without realizing it. But you're not going to do that anymore. Starting tonight, you're going to claim this power and use it intentionally. The technique is elegantly simple, but requires conscious practice to master. In those final minutes before sleep, as you feel yourself beginning to drift, you're going to bring your attention to your desired reality with crystal clarity, not as something you want, not as something you hope for, but as something that already is. You're going to see it in vivid detail. You're going to feel the emotions of already living it. You're going to inhabit that reality with such complete sensory immersion that your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between the imagined experience and actual experience. And because your subconscious cannot tell the difference, it will begin creating neural pathways, releasing neurochemicals, and sending signals to your body and to the quantum field, as if that reality is already your current state. Imagine lying in your bed right now, comfortable and relaxed, your body heavy and peaceful, your breathing slow and deep. You're at that delicious edge between waking and sleeping. And in this state, you begin to construct your desired reality. Maybe it's financial abundance you desire. Don't just think about money. Feel yourself checking your bank account and seeing the numbers that represent security and freedom. Feel the relief, the excitement, the gratitude. See yourself making purchases without stress. Feel the texture of quality things in your hands. Hear people asking for your advice about success. Smell the environment of your elevated lifestyle. Make it so real that your body responds with actual emotion, with actual sensation, with actual chemistry changes that tell your subconscious, this is not imagination but present reality. Or maybe it's love you're calling in. Don't just visualize a partner. Feel their presence beside you. Feel the warmth of their hand in yours. Hear their laughter. Smell their scent. Feel the safety and joy of being deeply seen and cherished. Let your heart fill with the emotion of being loved exactly as you are. Let your body relax into the security of mutual devotion. Make it so tangible that tears of gratitude form in your eyes, that a smile naturally appears on your face, that your entire being responds as if this love is already here, because in the realm of consciousness, it is. Perhaps it's health and vitality you're manifesting. Feel your body strong and energized. See yourself moving with ease and grace. Hear others commenting on how vibrant you look. Taste the joy of physical wellness. Smell the fresh air as you breathe deeply into healthy lungs. Touch your body and feel its power. Let every cell receive the message that health is your natural state. Let your immune system receive the signal to optimize. Let your nervous system receive the instruction to balance. Make the experience of perfect health so real in your consciousness that your body begins aligning with that reality at the cellular level. The key to this practice is emotion and repetition. You're not just visualizing like watching a movie. You're experiencing like living a moment. The more emotion you generate, the deeper the impression on your subconscious. The more consistently you do this night after night, the more those neural pathways strengthen until they become your default programming. Remember, your subconscious learns through feeling and repetition, so feel deeply and repeat consistently. This is not a one-night miracle. This is a nightly practice that compounds over time, each session building on the last, each impression deepening the program, each emotional experience strengthening the neural architecture of your new reality. And here's something profound that happens as you fall asleep in an elevated emotional state, as you drift into unconsciousness while holding the frequency of your desired reality. Your sleeping hours become an extension of the programming. While your conscious mind rests, your subconscious continues working with the last instructions you gave it. It processes the impressions you made. It integrates the emotions you felt. It begins reorganizing your neural networks to align with the new program. It sends signals throughout your body to calibrate to the new frequency, and it communicates with the quantum field, broadcasting your new vibration continuously through the night, attracting circumstances, people, and opportunities that match this frequency. This is why you might wake up with sudden insights, unexpected solutions, or clear intuitive guidance after a night of conscious programming before sleep. Your subconscious has been working on your behalf all night long, accessing information and possibilities that your conscious mind cannot reach during waking hours. It's been rearranging the chess pieces of your reality. It's been opening pathways you didn't know existed. It's been doing the heavy lifting of transformation while you sleep peacefully, unaware of the profound changes taking place in your consciousness and in your energy field. Many masters of manifestation have discovered that the minutes before sleep are more powerful than hours of meditation during the day. Not because meditation isn't valuable, but because the theta state accessed naturally before sleep offers a unique advantage. You're not trying to enter it. You're not fighting to maintain it. You're simply allowing it as part of your natural sleep cycle. And because it's natural, because it's effortless, because there's no striving or forcing, your programming faces less resistance. Your subconscious accepts the impressions more readily. The changes take root more deeply. There's also something significant about the number of hours this programming has to integrate before you wake. If you practice this technique and then sleep for 7 or 8 hours, that's 7 or 8 hours of uninterrupted subconscious processing. That's hundreds of sleep cycles where your brain moves through different stages, each stage offering different opportunities for integration and consolidation. During REM sleep, your brain processes emotions and creates meaning from experiences. During deep sleep, Your brain consolidates memories and prunes unnecessary neural connections. By impressing your desired reality in the moments before sleep, you give your brain the raw material to work with throughout all these cycles, essentially turning your entire night's sleep into a transformation laboratory. Some people report experiencing vivid dreams related to their desired reality after implementing this practice. This is a positive sign. It means your subconscious is actively processing the new programming. The dreams are like preview screenings of your emerging reality. Don't dismiss them as mere fantasy. Recognize them as evidence that the work is happening at deep levels. Your consciousness is reorganizing itself. Your identity is shifting. Your frequency is changing. And the dreams are simply the subconscious mind's way of communicating that the new program is being installed. Others report waking up feeling different, feeling lighter, feeling more optimistic, feeling inexplicably certain that good things are coming. This is not false hope. This is the natural result of reprogramming during the most receptive state of consciousness. You're waking up with different neural patterns than you went to sleep with. You're beginning your day from a different frequency than you used to. And even if your external circumstances haven't changed yet, your internal state has. And internal state always precedes external change. Now I want you to commit to something right now. For the next 30 nights, you're going to guard the 15 minutes before sleep as sacred time. You're going to turn off all screens. You're going to create a peaceful environment. You're going to lie in comfort and consciously direct your attention to your desired reality with emotion and sensory detail. You're going to fall asleep while inhabiting that reality, while feeling those elevated emotions, while being the person who already has what you desire. 30 nights of consistent practice. That's all I'm asking, because 30 nights is enough time for new neural pathways to form. It's enough time for new patterns to establish. It's enough time for the old programming to weaken and the new programming to take hold. And here's what you'll discover. By night 7, you'll notice subtle changes in how you feel during the day. By night 14, you'll start noticing small synchronicities and unexpected opportunities. By night 21, you'll feel like a different person, more confident, more optimistic, more magnetic. By night 30, you'll have tangible evidence that your reality is shifting. Not because I said so, but because you'll have experienced it yourself. You'll have proven to yourself that you have the power to reprogram your subconscious, to change your frequency, to create your reality through the intentional use of this sacred window before sleep. This is not about perfection. Some nights, you'll do this practice powerfully and fall asleep in a blissful, elevated state. Other nights, you'll struggle to focus, you'll be tired, you'll drift off before you complete the process. That's okay. What matters is consistency, not perfection. What matters is that you show up, night after night, with intention, even if some nights are more effective than others. The cumulative effect of repeated practice is what creates lasting transformation. Each night builds on the previous night. Each impression strengthens the overall program. Each emotional experience deepens the neural pathway. As we close this chapter, I want you to feel the significance of what you've just learned. You now possess knowledge that most people never discover. You understand that every night offers a portal to transformation. You know how to access your subconscious mind directly. You have the technique to install new programming. And you recognize that the 15 minutes before sleep might be the most important 15 minutes of your entire day, because those 15 minutes don't just determine the quality of your sleep. They determine the quality of your next day, your next week, your next year, your entire life trajectory. They're the rudder that steers the ship of your consciousness. And tonight, you take control of that rudder. Tonight, you begin the practice that will change everything. Tonight, you claim your power as the programmer of your own mind. The portal opens every evening. The question is whether you'll walk through it consciously or sleep through it unconsciously. You've made your choice, and your transformation accelerates from here. Feel yourself relaxing now, preparing for this sacred practice. Your body knows how to do this. You've been falling asleep your entire life. Now you're simply adding conscious intention to a natural process. As you drift towards sleep tonight, you'll remember these words. You'll create your reality with vivid detail. You'll feel your desired emotions deeply. You'll impress your subconscious with clear instructions. And you'll sleep as the person you're becoming, allowing the transformation to continue throughout the night. Trust this process. Trust yourself. The programming begins tonight. Chapter 7. The Death of the Old Self Releasing. Who you were to embrace. Who you are. There is a death that must happen before you can fully step into your power. And it's not the death of your physical body. It's the death of your old identity, the dissolution of who you thought you were, the complete release of the person you've been playing for so long that you forgot it was just a role. And here's what makes this death so challenging, so necessary, and ultimately so liberating. You've become attached to this identity. You've defended it. You've built a life around it. You've told stories that reinforce it. You've gathered evidence that proves it. And even though this identity has limited you, even though it's kept you small, even though it's prevented you from experiencing the fullness of your potential, there's a part of you that doesn't want to let it go, because at least it's familiar. At least it's safe. At least you know who you are within its boundaries. But tonight, we're going to loosen the grip of this old self. We're going to see it for what it truly is. And we're going to consciously, deliberately, gratefully allow it to die so that your true self, your unstoppable self, your infinite self can finally emerge. Let me be clear about what I mean by the old self, because this isn't about rejecting your past or denying your experiences or pretending you're someone you're not. The old self is the collection of identities, roles, and self-concepts that you've accumulated over your lifetime based on your conditioning, your experiences, your interpretations of what happened to you, and the conclusions you drew about who you are as a result. It's the voice in your head that says, I'm not good with money, or I'm not the kind of person who succeeds, or I always struggle with relationships, or I'm just not lucky, or I'm too old, too young, too damaged, too ordinary. These are not statements of fact. They're stories. Stories that became so familiar through repetition that they hardened into identity. And identity, once formed, becomes a filter through which you perceive everything, and a boundary beyond which you cannot imagine yourself going. Think about how identity works. You have an experience. You interpret that experience. You draw a conclusion about yourself based on that interpretation. You tell yourself a story about what that experience means, about who you are. And then you begin living as if that story is true. Maybe you tried something and it didn't work out. Instead of seeing it as one isolated event, you concluded, I'm not good at this. That conclusion became a belief. That belief became part of your identity. And now, years later, you don't even try things related to that area because you've defined yourself as someone who isn't good at it. The original experience is long gone, but the identity you formed from it continues to run your life, creating boundaries you don't question and limitations you don't challenge. Or maybe someone said something to you when you were young. A parent, a teacher, a peer. Maybe they said you're too sensitive, or you're not very smart, or you're selfish, or you'll never amount to anything. And because you were young, because you trusted their authority, because you didn't yet have the critical thinking to question their assessment, you accepted it. You internalized it. You made it part of your identity. And decades later, even though that person might not even remember saying it, even though they have no power over you anymore, their words are still shaping your self-concept, still limiting your possibilities, still keeping you locked in an identity that was never true to begin with. This is the invisible prison we talked about earlier, but now we're looking at it from a different angle. The prison isn't just made of beliefs, it's made of identity. And identity is even more powerful than beliefs, because beliefs are things you have. But identity is who you think you are. You can change what you have much easier than you can change who you think you are. This is why transformation is so challenging for most people. They want different results, but they're not willing to become a different person. They want abundance while clinging to their identity as someone who struggles. They want love while holding on to their identity as someone who's unlovable. They want success while maintaining their identity as someone who isn't good enough. And it doesn't work because you cannot rise higher than your identity allows. Your results will always match your identity, not your desires. But here's the truth that will set you free. Identity is not fixed. It's not permanent. It's not who you really are. Identity is a construct, a story, a role you've been playing. And just as an actor can step out of one role and into another, you can release your old identity and consciously choose a new one, not by pretending, not by faking, but by recognizing that the old identity was never the truth of who you are in the first place. It was just a costume you put on so long ago that you forgot you were wearing it. And the moment you realize you're wearing a costume, you can take it off. The moment you see that identity as a choice, you can make a different choice. Now let me show you why this death of the old self is not only necessary but beautiful. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. You cannot install new software on a corrupted hard drive without first clearing the old programs. You cannot build a magnificent new structure on a crumbling foundation. The old identity, with all its limitations and boundaries and definitions of what's possible for you, is incompatible with the life you're creating. It cannot contain your expansion. It cannot support your transformation. It cannot accommodate your emergence. So it must be released. Not with violence, not with rejection, not with shame, but with gratitude and conscious letting go. Think of a caterpillar. At a certain point in its life cycle, it spins a chrysalis around itself and begins to dissolve. Not partially, completely. It literally turns into biological soup. Its form breaks down entirely. And in that dissolution, something miraculous happens. The imaginal cells that have been dormant all along, carrying the blueprint of the butterfly, activate. They begin organizing the soup into a completely new form. The caterpillar doesn't become a better caterpillar. It becomes something entirely different. A creature that can fly. A creature that can see in ways it never could before. A creature that exists in dimensions the caterpillar could never access. But this metamorphosis requires the complete dissolution of the old form. There's no way to be partly caterpillar and partly butterfly. The old self must die for the new self to live. You are in your chrysalis right now. You've begun the dissolution. And yes, it can feel uncomfortable. It can feel disorienting. It can feel like you're losing yourself. But you're not losing yourself. You're losing the limitations you mistook for yourself. You're losing the boundaries you thought defined you. You're losing the small story you thought was your only story. And in that loss, in that dissolution, something infinitely greater is being born. The death of the old self often manifests as a period of uncertainty. You might feel like you don't know who you are anymore. You might feel like the things that used to define you don't fit anymore. You might feel like you're between worlds, no longer the person you were, but not yet fully the person you're becoming. This is not a problem. This is not a sign that something's wrong. This is the sacred space of transformation. This is the fertile void where all possibility exists. This is the darkness of the chrysalis where the magic of metamorphosis happens. Don't rush through it. Don't try to go back to what's familiar. Don't panic because you can't see the outcome yet. Trust the process. Trust that dissolution precedes reorganization. Trust that the death of the old is the birth canal of the new. Let me tell you what happens when you consciously participate in this death rather than resist it. First, you stop defending your old identity. You stop telling the same stories about yourself over and over. You stop using your past as evidence for your present. You stop saying, "I've always been this way," as if it's a life sentence. You start recognizing when you're about to repeat an old pattern, and instead of automatically following it, you pause. You observe it. You thank it for serving you in the past, and you consciously choose differently. Each time you do this, each time you catch yourself in an old identity pattern and choose not to follow it, you weaken that neural pathway. You starve that old program. You vote for the new self over the old self. Second, you stop seeking validation for your old identity from others. This is subtle, but crucial. Many people are invested in keeping you as the person they've always known you to be, not because they're bad people, but because your change threatens their status quo. If you change, it means they can change, and maybe they're not ready for that. So unconsciously, they'll try to pull you back into your old role. They'll remind you of who you used to be. They'll tell stories from your past that reinforce your old identity. They'll express skepticism about your transformation. And if you're not conscious, you'll find yourself defending your old limitations to make them feel comfortable. But you can't serve two masters. You can't honor your transformation while also maintaining your old identity to please others. You have to choose. And when you choose your emergence over others' comfort, when you choose your truth over their expectations, you accelerate the death of the old self exponentially. Third, you create space for grief, because even though the old identity limited you, there's still a sense of loss in letting it go. It's been with you for so long. It's been your companion, your excuse, your hiding place. And part of you might feel sad, might feel scared, might feel like you're betraying yourself by releasing it. This is normal. This is human. Honor these feelings. Allow the grief, but don't let it stop you. Cry if you need to cry. Feel the loss if you need to feel it. And then continue moving forward. The sadness is not a sign that you're making a mistake. It's a sign that you're actually letting go. It's the emotional release that accompanies transformation. It's the tears of the caterpillar as it dissolves, not knowing yet that it will fly. Fourth, you begin to experiment with new identities consciously. Instead of waiting to become someone different, you start acting as if you already are, not from a place of pretending or faking, but from a place of trying on new possibilities. You ask yourself, who would I be if I wasn't limited by my old story? And then you start making choices from that place. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You respond to situations differently. At first it might feel awkward, like wearing clothes that don't quite fit yet. But the more you practice being the new identity, the more natural it becomes. The neural pathways strengthen, the new patterns become automatic, and eventually, what started as conscious experimentation becomes your actual identity. You're not trying to be someone new anymore. You simply are someone new. And fifth, you forgive yourself for believing the old story for so long. This is essential. You cannot move forward while carrying self-judgment about your past. You didn't know what you didn't know. You did the best you could with the consciousness you had at the time. You believed what you were taught to believe. You became who you thought you were supposed to become. There's nothing to be ashamed of in that. There's nothing wrong with having lived in limitation. The only question is whether you're willing to live there anymore. And the fact that you're here, reading these words, engaging with these ideas, opening to this transformation, proves that you're ready to release the old and embrace the new. Now I want you to do something with me right now. I want you to acknowledge your old self, not with anger or resentment, but with compassion and gratitude. That version of you survived. It got you here. It protected you when you needed protection. It helped you navigate a world that you didn't fully understand yet. It did its job, and now its job is complete. So silently, internally, say thank you to the old self. Thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for doing the best you knew how. Thank you for surviving until I was ready to thrive. Thank you for bringing me to this moment of transformation. I honor you, I appreciate you, and I release you. You can rest now. I'm taking it from here. Feel what happens in your body as you do this. There's a softening, isn't there? A release of tension you didn't know you were carrying. This is the beginning of the death. Not a violent end, but a peaceful release. The old self doesn't need to be destroyed. It needs to be thanked and released. And in that release, energy that was bound up in maintaining the old identity becomes available for creating the new. From this moment forward, you're going to practice living as your new self. Not the self you hope to become someday, but the self you're claiming right now. Every morning when you wake up, you're going to ask yourself, who am I today? And the answer is going to reflect your new identity, not your old story. Every time you face a choice, you're going to ask yourself, what would my new self choose here? And you're going to make that choice even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it challenges your old patterns. Every time you catch yourself falling into old identity patterns, you're going to gently redirect yourself back to the new identity you're embodying. This is not about perfection. You'll slip back into old patterns sometimes. That's natural. That's part of the process. The old neural pathways are still there, still trying to run their programs. But each time you catch yourself and consciously choose differently, you weaken those old pathways and strengthen the new ones. Over time, the new identity becomes more dominant than the old. The new self becomes more familiar than the old self. And eventually you won't have to try anymore. You'll simply be the person you've been becoming all along. The death of the old self is not something to fear. It's something to welcome. It's the necessary dissolution that precedes your resurrection. It's the sacred ending that makes space for a new beginning. It's the release of the caterpillar so the butterfly can emerge. And you're not doing this alone. Every person who has ever transformed, who has ever transcended their limitations, who has ever become more than they thought possible, has walked through this same death. They've released their old identity. They've endured the uncertainty of the chrysalis. They've emerged as something new. And you're doing the same thing right now. You're in the process. You're in the metamorphosis. The old self is dissolving. The new self is forming. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what you're becoming. As you prepare for sleep tonight, as you enter that sacred window of transformation we discussed, you're going to release any remaining attachment to your old identity. You're going to consciously let it go. You're going to thank it for its service and release it with love. And then you're going to fully inhabit your new identity. You're going to feel yourself as the person who is already transformed, the person who is abundant, successful, loved, healthy, powerful, the person who is unstoppable. You're going to go to sleep as that person, and you're going to wake up as that person, because the old self dies tonight. The chrysalis completes tonight. The butterfly emerges tomorrow. This is not metaphor. This is your reality. The death has already begun. The transformation is already happening, and your new life, your true life, your unstoppable life is already unfolding. Release the old, embrace the new, and become who you've always been beneath the costume of limitation. Your true self is waiting, and it's magnificent beyond anything you've imagined. Breathe deeply now and feel the release happening within you. The old identity is loosening its grip. The old stories are losing their power. The old boundaries are dissolving. You are in the sacred space between who you were and who you're becoming. Honor this space. Trust this process. And know that on the other side of this death is a life beyond your wildest dreams. The caterpillar cannot imagine flight, but the butterfly remembers, and you are remembering now. You are remembering your wings. You are remembering your power. You are remembering who you truly are. The death is not an ending. It's a liberation. Welcome it. Release into it, and allow your transformation to complete. Chapter 8. The unified field connecting to the infinite source of possibilities. There is an invisible ocean of intelligence that surrounds you, permeates you, and connects you to everything that exists. Scientists call it the quantum field, the zero-point field, the field of infinite potential. Mystics call it consciousness, the divine matrix, the mind of God. Ancient wisdom traditions called it the Tao, Brahman, the Great Spirit. The name doesn't matter. What matters is understanding that this field exists, that it contains all possibilities simultaneously, that it's responsive to your consciousness, and that learning to consciously connect with it gives you access to resources, information, solutions, and opportunities that your individual mind could never generate alone. You are not separate from this field. You have never been separate from it, but you've been taught to see yourself as an isolated individual, a small self, navigating a vast and indifferent universe. And this perception of separation has cut you off from the very source of your creative power. Tonight, we reconnect you. Tonight, we dissolve the illusion of separation. Tonight, you remember that you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Let me take you deep into what modern physics has discovered about the nature of reality, because when you truly understand this, when you grasp what the evidence is actually showing us, your entire relationship with existence transforms. At the most fundamental level, beneath atoms and subatomic particles, beneath quarks and leptons, there is no solid matter. There is only energy in constant vibration, waves of probability, fields of potential. And all of these fields, all of these vibrations, all of these particles that wink in and out of existence, they're all interconnected. They're all part of one unified field. When physicists probe deeply into the fabric of reality, they don't find separation. They find entanglement. They find that particles can be instantaneously connected across vast distances, influencing each other faster than the speed of light in ways that defy our ordinary understanding of space and time. They find that observation affects reality, that consciousness plays a role in determining what manifests from the field of possibilities. What this means is profound and revolutionary. At the deepest level of reality, everything is connected. You are connected to every other person, every living thing, every particle of matter in the universe through this unified field. Your thoughts send ripples through this field. Your emotions broadcast signals into this field. Your consciousness interacts with this field constantly, drawing from it, contributing to it, shaping it, being shaped by it. You're not an isolated individual struggling alone in a random universe. You're a focal point of infinite consciousness, a unique expression of the unified field itself, forever connected to the source of all creativity, all intelligence, all possibility. But here's what happens to most people. They're so identified with their physical body, so focused on their individual thoughts and personal concerns, so trapped in the perception of separation, that they lose awareness of their connection to the unified field. They operate as if they're cut off from source, as if they have only their own limited resources to draw upon, as if they have to figure everything out with just their individual mind. And this creates struggle. This creates limitation. This creates the exhausting experience of trying to create your life through effort and willpower alone. It's like being a wave that forgets it's part of the ocean. The wave starts thinking it's small, it's temporary, it's separate, it's vulnerable. But the moment the wave remembers it's not separate from the ocean, the moment it recognizes that all the power of the entire ocean flows through it, everything changes. It stops feeling small. It stops feeling afraid. It stops struggling because it remembers what it truly is. This remembering, this reconnection to the unified field, is not about learning something new. It's about unlearning the lie of separation. You've been conditioned to see yourself as separate since birth. You learned language, which creates the distinction between I and other. You developed an ego, which creates the experience of being an individual self. You were taught to compete, which reinforces the idea that you're separate from everyone else. You were educated in a worldview that treats the universe as a mechanical system of separate parts rather than an interconnected web of consciousness. And all of this conditioning, while useful in certain contexts, has disconnected you from your source. It's made you forget that beneath the appearance of separation, there is fundamental unity. Beneath the experience of being an isolated individual, there is the reality of being universal consciousness, expressing itself in a unique form. When you reconnect with the unified field, when you consciously attune yourself to this ocean of intelligence, extraordinary things become possible. Intuition sharpens because you're no longer limited to information stored in your brain. You have access to the intelligence of the entire field. Synchronicities multiply because you're no longer creating in isolation. The field itself begins orchestrating circumstances to support your intentions. Manifestation accelerates because you're no longer trying to create through your individual will alone. You're aligning with the creative power of the unified field itself, which contains infinite resources and can arrange matter, energy, events, and people in ways your rational mind cannot even conceive. Think about the great inventors, artists, scientists, and visionaries throughout history. They consistently report similar experiences. They describe ideas coming to them, insights appearing fully formed, solutions arriving in moments of inspiration. They don't claim to have figured everything out through logical analysis. They describe receiving information, downloading knowledge, tapping into something greater than themselves. What they're actually describing, whether they use this language or not, is connection to the unified field. They're describing moments when they transcended their individual consciousness and accessed the collective intelligence, the universal mind, the infinite creative source that contains all knowledge, all possibility, all innovation waiting to be discovered. You have the same capacity. You have always had it. It's not reserved for geniuses or specially gifted people. It's your birthright as a conscious being. The unified field is not something distant or difficult to access. It's here, now, always. You're swimming in it right now, like a fish swims in water. The question is not whether you can connect to it, but whether you're aware of your connection, whether you're consciously using it, whether you're allowing yourself to receive from it, rather than believing you have to create everything through isolated effort alone. So how do you consciously connect with the unified field? How do you move from the experience of separation to the experience of unity? How do you tap into this infinite source of intelligence and possibility? It begins with presence. When you're fully present, when you're not lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future, when you're simply here now, aware of the moment without the constant chattering of mental narrative, you naturally drop out of individual consciousness and into field consciousness. Your brain waves slow down. Your sense of separate self softens. The boundaries between you and everything else become more permeable. And in that state of presence, you can feel it. You can feel that you're not separate. You can feel the connection. You can sense the intelligence that flows through all things. Meditation is one of the most direct paths to this connection. Not meditation as a technique you force yourself through, but meditation as a practice of simply being, of resting in awareness, of allowing the mind to settle like a snow globe that's been shaken, finally coming to stillness. When the mind is still, when thoughts slow down, when you're not constantly thinking about yourself and your problems and your identity, something remarkable happens. The illusion of separation dissolves. You experience yourself as consciousness itself, rather than as a separate person having consciousness. And in that state, you're directly connected to the unified field. You're not thinking about connection. You are connection. You're not trying to access the field. You are the field experiencing itself through your unique perspective. But you don't have to sit in formal meditation to access this connection. You can find it in nature, where the boundaries between self and environment naturally soften. You can find it in moments of deep appreciation, when you're so absorbed in gratitude that you forget yourself entirely. You can find it in creativity, when you're so immersed in creative flow that hours pass without notice, and you look at what you've created wondering where it came from. You can find it in acts of service, when you're so focused on giving that your separate sense of self temporarily disappears. Any activity that takes you beyond the prison of self-consciousness, beyond the constant focus on me and my and mine, opens the doorway to field consciousness. There's also a specific quality of attention that facilitates this connection. When you place your attention not on things, but on the space between things, not on objects, but on the field in which objects appear, not on thoughts, but on the awareness in which thoughts arise, you shift from object consciousness to field consciousness. Try this right now. Instead of focusing on any particular sound, become aware of the silence from which all sounds emerge, and into which they dissolve. Instead of focusing on any particular sensation in your body, become aware of the space of awareness in which all sensations appear. Instead of focusing on this specific thought, become aware of the consciousness that notices thoughts come and go. This shift in attention subtle as it seems, is actually a shift in identity. You're moving from identifying as a separate self to recognizing yourself as the field of awareness itself. And this recognition is the reconnection. When you operate from this connection, when you live from the awareness of your unity with the unified field, you naturally begin to receive guidance. Not guidance from an external authority, but guidance from the intelligence of the field itself, flowing through your intuition. You start knowing things without knowing how you know them. You feel pulled in certain directions without logical justification, and when you follow those pulls, you discover they were leading you exactly where you needed to go. You think of someone and they call. You need information, and it appears. You face a problem, and the solution presents itself, often from an unexpected source. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is what happens when you're connected to the unified field and allowing its intelligence to flow through you. The unified field is also the source of your deepest creativity. When you're disconnected, when you're operating purely from individual consciousness, you can only recombine existing ideas. You can only create variations of what you've already seen or learned. But when you're connected to the field, when you open yourself to receive from the infinite source of creativity, truly original ideas can flow through you. Ideas that have never been thought before, solutions that have never been conceived, innovations that have never been imagined. This is why taking time to be still, to be present, to connect beyond your individual mind is not a luxury. It's essential if you want to create something truly new, truly original, truly transformative. You have to get out of your own way. You have to stop trying to figure everything out with your limited rational mind. You have to open yourself to receive from the unlimited intelligence of the unified field. Many people resist this because it requires surrendering control. It requires admitting that you don't have all the answers, that your individual mind is not sufficient, that you need something greater than your ego to guide you. And the ego doesn't like this. The ego wants to believe it's in charge, it's separate, it's solely responsible for your survival and success. But this is the ego's fundamental delusion. The ego is not who you are. It's a useful tool, a necessary function for navigating physical reality, but it's not your true identity. When you over-identify with ego, when you think you are just your separate individual self, you cut yourself off from your source. But when you recognize the ego as a function within the larger field of your consciousness, when you use ego as a tool without identifying as ego, you maintain connection to the unified field while also having the capacity to operate effectively in the world. This balance is crucial. You're not trying to destroy the ego or transcend the physical world. You're not trying to dissolve into formless consciousness and never return. You're learning to dance between the two, to remember your connection to the unified field, to draw upon its infinite resources, to allow its intelligence to guide you, and then to bring that guidance, that creativity, that inspiration into form through purposeful action in the physical world. You're becoming a bridge between the formless and form, between the infinite and the finite, between the unified field and individual expression. This is mastery. This is the full activation of your creative potential. When you're connected to the unified field, you also begin to understand that everything you need already exists within this field as potential. The relationship you desire, the abundance you seek, the health you want, the opportunities you're looking for, they're all already present in the unified field as possibilities waiting to be collapsed into reality. You're not trying to create something out of nothing. You're selecting from infinite possibilities and bringing specific possibilities into manifestation through your consciousness, your attention, your intention, your emotion, your action. The field contains everything. Your work is to align with what you desire, to become the vibrational match for it, to expect it, to be open to receive it, and to take inspired action when guidance comes. This understanding radically changes how you approach manifestation. You're not pushing, forcing, struggling, trying to make things happen through sheer effort. You're aligning, attuning, opening, receiving, and then acting when inspired. There's a relaxation in this approach, a trust, a knowing that you don't have to do everything yourself because you're not alone. The unified field is supporting you. The intelligence of the universe is working with you. All you have to do is stay connected, stay open, stay aligned, and follow the guidance that emerges from that connection. Prayer and intention setting become more powerful when understood in this context. You're not begging an external deity to give you what you want. You're consciously communicating with the unified field, declaring your intention, impressing your desire upon the quantum matrix, and then releasing attachment to exactly how or when it manifests. You're planting a seed in the fertile soil of infinite potential, trusting that the intelligence of the field knows how to grow that seed into physical reality in ways that serve your highest good and the highest good of all. This is co-creation, not you alone trying to manifest through willpower, and not passive waiting for the universe to deliver, but active partnership between your individual consciousness and the universal consciousness of the unified field. There's a beautiful feedback loop that occurs when you strengthen your connection to the unified field. The more you connect, the more you experience synchronicity, intuition, and effortless manifestation. The more you experience these things, the more you trust the connection. The more you trust the connection, the more you relax into it. The more you relax into it, the stronger the connection becomes. You create an upward spiral of increasing connection and increasing evidence of that connection, until living in flow, living in alignment, living from unity rather than separation becomes your new normal. Some people experience this connection as a felt sense of love, a warm, expansive feeling in the heart that seems to embrace everything. Others experience it as deep peace, a profound stillness that feels like coming home. Others experience it as aliveness, a vibrant energy flowing through every cell. Others experience it as knowing, a quiet certainty beyond rational understanding. The specific quality of the experience doesn't matter. What matters is recognizing when you're connected and learning to return to that connection again and again until it becomes your baseline state rather than a rare occurrence. You can also invite this connection through your language and attention throughout the day. Instead of constantly thinking in terms of I and me and mine, occasionally shift to thinking in terms of we and us and ours, recognizing yourself as part of the whole rather than separate from it. Instead of seeing other people as competitors or strangers, recognize them as other expressions of the same consciousness that you are, other waves in the same ocean, other notes in the same symphony. Instead of seeing challenges as personal attacks, see them as the field presenting opportunities for growth and expansion. This shift in perspective, practiced consistently, maintains your awareness of connection even while you're engaged in everyday activities. The unified field is also where healing occurs. When you're disconnected, when you're operating purely from individual consciousness, your body's healing capacity is limited to its own resources. But when you connect to the field, When you open yourself to receive healing energy from the infinite source, your body can access resources beyond its individual capacity. This is why people sometimes experience spontaneous healings that defy medical explanation. They're not violating the laws of nature. They're accessing deeper laws, quantum laws, field laws that allow consciousness to directly influence matter, energy, and biological systems. You don't have to understand the mechanism to benefit from it. You just have to be open to it, to invite it, to receive it. As you lie down tonight and prepare for sleep, you're going to consciously connect with the unified field, not through effort or concentration, but through relaxation and openness. You're going to release the sense of being a separate individual, struggling alone. You're going to soften the boundaries of your identity. You're going to feel yourself expanding beyond the limits of your physical body, beyond the confines of your individual mind, beyond the story of your personal history. You're going to rest in the awareness that you are not separate from the source of all creation. You're going to allow yourself to feel held, supported, guided by an intelligence far greater than your ego. And from that place of connection, you're going to set your intentions for what you're creating, knowing that the unified field will orchestrate circumstances, arrange synchronicities, and provide resources in ways you cannot predict or control, but can absolutely trust. This connection is not something you achieve once and maintain forever. It's something you return to again and again, especially in the beginning. You'll connect, then get pulled back into separation consciousness by worry or fear or the demands of daily life. That's normal. Don't judge it. Just notice when it happens and gently return to connection. Over time, the connection becomes more stable, more consistent, more natural. You spend more time in unity consciousness and less time in separation consciousness. And as this happens, your life transforms in ways that seem miraculous to those operating from separation, but feel perfectly natural to you because you understand the mechanism. You're not special. You're not lucky. You're simply connected. You're operating from the truth of unity rather than the illusion of separation, and that makes all the difference. The unified field has been waiting for you to remember it. The ocean has been waiting for the wave to recognize what it is. The source has been waiting for you to come home to yourself. And that homecoming happens now, tonight, as you release the exhausting burden of believing you're separate and alone. You're not separate. You've never been separate. You're an eternal expression of infinite consciousness, temporarily focused in this body, this life, this moment, but forever connected to the vast intelligence that creates and sustains all existence. Feel that connection. Trust that connection. Live from that connection. And watch as your life reorganizes itself around this fundamental truth. The unified field is not out there. It's here. It's now. It's you. And from this moment forward, you create not from separation, but from unity. Not from limitation, but from infinite possibility. Not from fear, but from the certain knowing that you are forever held, forever guided, forever supported by the intelligence of all that is. Breathe into this awareness now. Feel your body relaxing, your mind quieting, your sense of separate self softening. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You are part of an infinite web of consciousness, connected to everything that exists. The unified field flows through you with every breath. The intelligence of the universe guides you with every intuition. The creative power of existence supports you with every intention. Rest in this knowing. Fall asleep in this connection. and wake up tomorrow with the felt sense that you are held by something far greater than your individual self. You are the unified field experiencing itself as you, and that changes everything. Chapter 9. Inspired. Action versus desperate action. The balance between being and doing. There's a question that confuses almost everyone on the path of manifestation, a paradox that seems to contradict itself, a tension that keeps people oscillating between extremes without ever finding the sweet spot of true creative power. The question is this: if my consciousness creates my reality, if my vibration attracts my circumstances, if my state of being determines what manifests, then do I need to take action at all? Or can I just sit back, visualize, feel good, and wait for everything to magically appear? And if I do need to take action, how much action? When should I act? What kind of action actually helps versus action that's just me trying to control outcomes because I don't really trust the process? This confusion keeps people stuck in two equally ineffective approaches. Either they do nothing, waiting passively for the universe to deliver while nothing changes, or they do everything, hustling frantically, pushing, forcing, trying to make things happen through sheer willpower while burning themselves out. Neither approach works, because neither approach understands the fundamental distinction between inspired action and desperate action. And tonight, you're going to learn that distinction so clearly, so thoroughly, that you'll never confuse the two again. Let me start by addressing the biggest misconception in the manifestation community. Some teachers emphasize consciousness and vibration so heavily that people start believing action doesn't matter, that it's all about raising your frequency and then sitting back while the universe does everything for you. This is partially true, but dangerously incomplete. Yes, your vibration is primary. Yes, your state of being creates your state of having. Yes, you must become the energetic match for what you desire before it can manifest. All of that is absolutely true. But here's what's also true. You live in a physical reality that requires physical action. You have a body that's designed to move, to engage, to interact with the world. You are consciousness expressing itself through form, which means manifestation requires both the invisible work of consciousness and the visible work of action. You are not meant to transcend the physical world. You're meant to dance with it, to co-create with it, to bring the formless into form through the marriage of being and doing. The confusion arises because most people have only ever known one type of action: desperate action. Action motivated by fear, lack, and the belief that if you don't do something right now, nothing will happen. This is the action of someone who doesn't trust, someone who's trying to control outcomes, someone who believes it all depends on their personal effort. This action feels heavy. It feels forced. It depletes your energy rather than energizes you. You're pushing against resistance rather than flowing with momentum. You're trying to make things happen rather than allowing things to unfold. And even if desperate action sometimes produces results, it's exhausting, unsustainable, and it keeps you locked in survival consciousness rather than elevating you into creation consciousness. Inspired action is completely different. It comes from a different source, feels different in your body, and produces different results. Inspired action arises naturally when you're aligned with your vision, connected to the unified field, and trusting the process. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It doesn't deplete you. It energizes you. You don't have to force yourself to do it. You feel pulled toward it. There's a natural momentum, a flow, an ease about it. Time passes differently. when you're taking inspired action. Hours feel like minutes because you're so absorbed in what you're doing, and the results that come from inspired action are exponentially greater than the results that come from desperate action because inspired action is aligned with the intelligence of the universe itself. You're not trying to force outcomes. You're riding the wave of universal support. Here's how you can tell the difference in your body. Desperate action comes with contraction. Your breath becomes shallow. Your muscles tense. Your stomach might tighten. Your jaw might clench. There's a quality of anxiety, of pushing, of trying to control. Your mind is racing with thoughts about what might go wrong, what you need to do next, how much you still have to accomplish. You feel pressure, urgency, stress. This is your nervous system in sympathetic activation, in survival mode, releasing cortisol and adrenaline. Your body is literally in a state of perceived threat, and when you take action from this state, you're broadcasting the frequency of fear and lack into the quantum field, which means even if your actions produce some results, you're simultaneously attracting more experiences that match that frequency of fear and lack. Inspired action comes with expansion. Your breath naturally deepens. Your body feels relaxed, yet energized. There's often a feeling in your chest or solar plexus, a warmth, an excitement, a knowing that yes, this is right. This is the direction. Your mind is clear, focused, present. You're not worried about outcomes. You're engaged with the process. You feel curiosity, enthusiasm, anticipation. This is your nervous system in parasympathetic activation, in creation mode, releasing dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Your body is in a state of safety and possibility, and when you take action from this state, you're broadcasting the frequency of trust and abundance into the quantum field, which means your actions are magnified by universal support, and you attract experiences that match that elevated frequency. Most people spend their lives taking desperate action because they've been conditioned to believe that's what action is supposed to feel like. They've been taught that success requires struggle, that you have to push through resistance, that if it doesn't feel hard, you're probably not doing enough. But this is the old paradigm, the paradigm of separation consciousness, that believes you're alone, that believes you have to make everything happen through personal effort, that believes the universe is indifferent or even hostile. When you shift into unity consciousness, when you understand that you're connected to an intelligent universe that's supporting your intentions, everything about action changes. You're no longer trying to row a boat upstream against the current. You're positioning your sail to catch the wind that's already blowing in your direction. So how do you know when to take action and when to be still? This is where most people get tripped up. They're either always doing, afraid that if they stop, the momentum will be lost, or they're always waiting, afraid that if they act, they'll be forcing things. But there's a natural rhythm between action and rest, between doing and being, between masculine energy and feminine energy. And when you're attuned to this rhythm, when you're connected to your intuition and the guidance of the unified field, you know, you feel when it's time to move and when it's time to wait. You sense when action would be productive and when it would be premature. Here's a general principle that will serve you well. When you feel contracted, anxious, or desperate, that's not the time for action. That's the time to pause, to breathe, to return to center, to reconnect with your vision and your trust. When you act from contraction, you reinforce the vibration of lack and fear. But when you feel expanded, excited, and inspired, when there's a natural pull toward a specific action, when something feels right in your body, not just logical in your mind, that's when you act. And you act decisively, fully, without second-guessing, because you're aligned with the flow of universal intelligence. Think of it like surfing. A surfer doesn't try to create the wave. The surfer positions themselves, waits with awareness, feels for the right wave approaching, and when that wave comes, they act decisively to catch it. The surfer's action is essential. Without action, they won't catch the wave. But the action is in harmony with the wave, not fighting against it. The surfer is reading the energy, feeling the momentum, and moving with it, rather than against it. This is the dance between being and doing. You do the inner work of aligning your vibration. You connect to the unified field. You set your intention clearly. You cultivate the emotional state of already having what you desire. And then you stay alert to inspired action, to the intuitive hits, to the impulses that feel exciting and right. And when those impulses come, you move. Let me give you some concrete examples of what inspired action looks like versus desperate action so you can recognize the difference in your own life. Desperate action in looking for a job is sending out hundreds of resumes to any position that vaguely fits your qualifications, checking your email obsessively, feeling panic when you don't hear back, accepting positions that don't really align with what you want because you need something now. Inspired action is getting clear on what you actually want, visualizing yourself in that role, feeling the emotions of having that position, and then taking specific actions that feel right, reaching out to people who inspire you, applying to opportunities that genuinely excite you, preparing for interviews from a place of confidence rather than desperation. Can you feel the difference in energy? One is frantically casting a wide net from fear. The other is intentionally focusing on aligned opportunities from trust. Desperate action in building a business is working 18-hour days, saying yes to every opportunity, copying what others are doing, lowering your prices to compete, constantly worrying about money, pushing yourself past exhaustion. Inspired action is working with sustainable energy, saying yes to opportunities that align with your vision, and no to those that don't, creating from your unique genius, charging what your value is worth, trusting that the right clients will come, and resting when your body needs rest. One is driven by the fear that there's not enough and you're not enough. The other is guided by the trust that you are enough and there is enough. Desperate action in relationships is texting constantly, trying to force connection, changing yourself to be what you think the other person wants, tolerating disrespect because you're afraid of being alone, staying in unhealthy dynamics because you don't believe you can find better. Inspired action is maintaining your own center, allowing connection to develop naturally, being authentically yourself, honoring your boundaries, and being willing to walk away from situations that don't serve you because you trust that the right relationship will feel easy and reciprocal. One is clinging from scarcity. The other is choosing from abundance. Do you see the pattern? Desperate action comes from not trusting that you're supported, not believing that you're worthy, not having faith that what's meant for you will come. Inspired action comes from deep trust, inherent worthiness, and faith in the process. And here's the paradox that blows most people's minds. Inspired action, even though it feels easier and requires less effort, produces better results than desperate action. Why? Because inspired action is aligned with your highest good and the flow of universal intelligence. You're being guided to the right place at the right time, to meet the right people and encounter the right opportunities. Desperate action is you trying to control outcomes from a limited perspective, often working harder than you need to, often in directions that lead nowhere, often creating resistance that slows everything down. This doesn't mean inspired action is always comfortable or easy. Sometimes inspired action requires courage. Sometimes it means stepping outside your comfort zone. Sometimes it means doing things you've never done before. But even when inspired action is challenging, it doesn't feel heavy in the way desperate action does. There's an underlying sense of rightness of, yes, this is what I need to do, even though it's uncomfortable. Your body might feel nervous but not contracted. Your mind might feel uncertain but not terrified. You're experiencing the natural nervousness of growth, not the painful anxiety of forcing. Learning to distinguish between the two requires developing your intuition, your inner guidance system, and your body is the best tool you have for this. Your body never lies. Your mind can rationalize anything, can convince you that desperate action is necessary, can create all kinds of stories about why you should push and force and control. But your body tells the truth. So before you take action, check in with your body. How does this action feel? Does it feel like expansion or contraction? Does it feel like flow or force? Does it feel like I'm being pulled toward this or I'm pushing myself toward this? Your body knows the difference. Trust it. There's also a quality of detachment that characterizes inspired action. When you're taking desperate action, you're attached to specific outcomes. You need things to happen a certain way. You're invested in particular results, and this attachment creates suffering because you're trying to control what you cannot control. But when you're taking inspired action, you're detached from outcomes. You're doing what feels right to do, and then releasing the results. You trust that if this particular action doesn't produce the result you expected, it's because something better is coming, or because you're being redirected toward a more aligned path. This detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply about being aligned more than you care about controlling outcomes. This concept often confuses people. So let me clarify. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is not giving up. Detachment is not lowering your standards or settling for less. Detachment is releasing your grip on how and when your desires manifest. It's being clear about what you want while being flexible about how it comes. It's setting intentions powerfully while trusting the universe to orchestrate the details. It's doing your part fully while allowing the universe to do its part without interference. This is the balance. You're not passive. You're actively creating through your consciousness, your vibration, your actions. But you're not controlling. You're allowing, trusting, flowing with intelligence greater than your individual mind. Another important distinction is that inspired action doesn't always look productive from the outside. Sometimes inspired action is rest. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's walking away from something that looks good on paper, but doesn't feel right in your body. Sometimes it's doing something that seems completely unrelated to your goals, but somehow opens doors you didn't even know existed. Your rational mind wants action to be logical, linear, directly connected to outcomes. But inspired action often operates in mysterious ways. You follow an impulse to go to a certain coffee shop, and you meet someone who introduces you to someone who offers you an opportunity. You take a day off when your mind says you should be working, and you have a breakthrough insight that changes everything. You let go of a goal you were forcing, and suddenly the path clears for something even better. This is why you cannot rely on your rational mind alone to guide your actions. Your rational mind is limited to known information, past experiences, logical connections. But the unified field has access to infinite information, all possibilities, connections that your conscious mind cannot perceive. When you're connected to the unified field and following inspired action, you're being guided by intelligence that sees the whole game board, while your rational mind sees only a few pieces. Trust the inspiration more than the logic. Follow the pull more than the plan, and watch how life orchestrates outcomes more elegantly than you ever could have through controlled action alone. Now let me address the fear that often comes up when people hear this teaching. Some people worry that if they stop pushing, stop forcing, stop taking desperate action, nothing will happen. They're afraid that if they wait for inspiration, they'll end up doing nothing. They believe that their worth is tied to their productivity, that their value comes from constant doing. This fear is understandable because most of us were raised in cultures that worship busyness, that equate action with virtue, that make rest feel like laziness. But this fear is based on the false belief that you are the sole creator of your reality, that it all depends on your personal effort. When you truly understand that you're co-creating with an intelligent universe, when you deeply trust that you're supported, when you embody the knowing that you're worthy regardless of what you do or produce, this fear dissolves. And what you discover is that you actually end up taking more action from inspiration than you ever did from desperation. But it feels completely different and produces exponentially better results. The key is to understand that being and doing are not opposites. They're partners. They're the in-breath and out-breath of creation. You don't choose one or the other. You dance between them. You spend time in being, aligning your vibration, connecting to the unified field, feeling into your desired reality, raising your frequency. And from that elevated state of being, action naturally emerges. Not forced action, not desperate action, but inspired action that feels exciting, that flows easily, that produces results efficiently. Then you act, you move, you engage with the world. And through that action, you learn, you adjust, you refine. Then you return to being, integrating what you've learned, realigning your vibration, reconnecting to source. And the cycle continues, each phase supporting the other, each phase essential to the whole. Most people are stuck in constant doing because they never spend time in being. They're taking action all day long, but it's scattered, reactive, desperate action that doesn't produce the results they want. Then they take more action, trying harder, pushing more, wondering why they're exhausted and still not getting where they want to go. What they don't realize is that spending time in being, even just 15 minutes a day of meditation or visualization or connection, would make their action infinitely more effective. Because when you act from aligned being, your actions are guided, focused, and supported by universal intelligence. You do less and accomplish more. You work with ease instead of strain. You create from flow instead of force. As you move forward from here, as you continue your transformation, I want you to become exquisitely sensitive to the difference between inspired action and desperate action in your own experience. Before you take action on anything, pause. Check in with your body. Ask yourself, is this action coming from trust or fear? Is this expansion or contraction? Am I being pulled toward this or pushing myself toward this? And be honest. If the action is coming from desperation, don't take it. Return to being. Realign your vibration. Reconnect to trust. And wait for inspired action to emerge. It will. It always does when you're aligned. And when it comes, you'll know it. You'll feel it. And then you act. Decisively, powerfully, joyfully, knowing that your action is supported by forces greater than yourself. This doesn't mean you'll never feel resistance or discomfort. Growth always involves stretching beyond the familiar. But there's a difference between the resistance of growth and the resistance of misalignment. The resistance of growth feels like excitement mixed with nervousness, like I've never done this before, but it feels right. The resistance of misalignment feels like dread, like I don't want to do this, but I think I should. Learn to recognize the difference. Honor the resistance of misalignment by not acting. Embrace the resistance of growth by acting anyway. You're learning to trust yourself in a whole new way. You're learning to trust your body's wisdom over your mind's fear. You're learning to trust the pull of inspiration over the push of obligation. You're learning to trust that you don't have to do everything, that the universe is doing its part, that you're supported, that you're guided, that the right actions will become clear at the right time. This trust is not naive. It's not passive. It's the most intelligent, powerful stance you can take, because it aligns you with the creative force of existence itself. As you prepare for sleep tonight, you're going to release any remaining attachment to desperate action. You're going to forgive yourself for all the times you pushed, forced, struggled, exhausted yourself trying to make things happen. You understand now that you were operating from an old paradigm, from fear and separation consciousness. But that's over now. You're moving into a new way of being and doing. You're learning to trust the rhythm, to feel the difference, to act when inspired, and rest when aligned. You're becoming a master of the dance between being and doing. And this mastery will change everything. Your actions will be more effective. Your energy will be more sustainable. Your results will be more extraordinary. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing differently. You're doing from alignment. You're doing from trust. You're doing from the infinite creative power that flows through you when you stop forcing and start flowing. Feel the relief of this understanding. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to figure out every step. You don't have to push and force and exhaust yourself. You can relax into trust. You can move with inspiration. You can dance with the universe. And in that dance, in that partnership, in that surrender of control without surrendering your power, you become truly unstoppable. Not because you're doing everything yourself, but because you're allowing universal intelligence to work through you. This is the way. This is the path. This is how creation happens when being and doing unite in perfect harmony. Take a deep breath and feel your body relaxing into this new understanding. No more forcing, no more desperation, no more exhausting yourself in action that comes from fear. From this moment forward, you act only when inspired. You rest when aligned. You trust the rhythm of creation. Your body knows when to move and when to be still. Trust it, follow it, and watch as your life transforms not through more action, but through right action, inspired action, aligned action, action that flows from your highest self in partnership with universal intelligence. You are supported. You are guided. You're exactly where you need to be. Doing exactly what you need to be doing. Rest in this knowing. And tomorrow, move from this knowing. The universe is with you, always. Chapter 10. Unstoppable Forever. Maintaining your power beyond this night. You've traveled far in these pages. You've dismantled limiting beliefs that held you captive for years. You've learned the science behind your creative power. You've understood how vibration shapes reality. You've discovered the fuel of emotions. You've claimed the sacred portal of sleep. You've released the old self. You've reconnected with the unified field. You've learned to recognize inspired action. And tonight, as you close your eyes, you will be different than you were when you started reading. Your neural pathways have changed. Your frequency has shifted. Your consciousness has expanded. But here's the question that determines whether this transformation becomes a fleeting peak experience or a permanent elevation. What happens tomorrow? What happens next week when challenges arise? What happens next month when old patterns try to reassert themselves? What happens next year when life tests your new understanding? This final chapter is not about learning something new. It's about integrating everything you've learned into a sustainable way of being that makes you unstoppable, not just tonight, not just tomorrow, but forever. Let me be direct with you about what maintaining transformation requires, because I don't want you to have illusions that will lead to disappointment. The consciousness shift you've experienced while reading these words is real. The understanding you've gained is authentic. The frequency elevation you've felt is genuine. But consciousness operates on different time scales than physical reality. Your consciousness has shifted instantly. Your neural patterns are changing rapidly. But your external circumstances, your relationships, your finances, your physical body, these exist in physical reality, where change takes time. There's a gap, a lag between internal transformation and external manifestation. And it's in this gap that most people lose faith, abandon their practice, and fall back into old patterns. They expect immediate, dramatic changes in their circumstances, and when they don't see them right away, they conclude it didn't work. They doubt everything they learned. They return to the old paradigm. Don't make this mistake. Understand that the transformation is already complete in consciousness. The manifestation in physical reality is simply a matter of time and sustained frequency. Your job is not to make it happen faster. Your job is to maintain your new frequency consistently until physical reality catches up. Think of it like planting a seed. The moment you plant the seed, the process of growth has begun. But you don't see anything above ground immediately. If you dug up the seed every day to check if it's growing, you'd kill it. Your job is to water it, give it light, trust the process, and wait patiently for the inevitable emergence. Your new reality is like that seed. It's already planted. It's already growing. But it's growing in the invisible realm of consciousness and energy before it breaks through into the visible realm of physical manifestation. The transformation you've begun tonight will continue to unfold over the coming days, weeks, and months. You will see evidence of change gradually appearing in your life. Synchronicities will increase. Opportunities will present themselves. Relationships will shift. Your internal experience will feel different. These are signs that the seed is growing, that your new frequency is organizing circumstances to match it, that manifestation is in process. Trust these signs, celebrate them, and most importantly, don't abandon your practice just because you don't see the full harvest yet. Maintaining your power beyond this night requires establishing what I call a daily minimum practice. This is not about spending hours in meditation or visualization. This is about doing the essential practices consistently, even on days when you don't feel like it, even on days when you're busy, even on days when you're tired. Because consistency creates momentum, and momentum creates inevitability. What you do occasionally has little impact. What you do daily becomes who you are. So here's your daily minimum. First, the moment you wake up, before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, spend 3 to 5 minutes consciously choosing your state. Remember who you are. Remember what you're creating. Feel into the emotions of your desired reality. Set your intention for the day. This morning practice sets your frequency for the next 16 hours and prevents you from starting your day in reactive mode, responding to external circumstances and other people's energies before you've established your own center. Second, throughout the day, whenever you notice yourself slipping into old patterns, contracting into fear, or operating from survival consciousness, pause and breathe. Just 3 deep conscious breaths is enough to interrupt the pattern and return to presence. You don't need to do a full meditation. You just need to catch yourself and consciously choose differently. This is the practice of vigilance, of watching your own consciousness, of being aware when you're aligned and when you're not. The more you practice this catching and correcting, the less you'll need to correct, because you'll spend more time naturally in alignment. Third, the 15 minutes before sleep that we discussed in depth. This is non-negotiable. This is your sacred window for subconscious reprogramming. Guard it fiercely. No screens, no disturbing content, no problem-solving. Only visualization, feeling, and conscious impression of your desired reality as you drift into sleep. Do this every single night for 30 days minimum, and preferably forever. This practice alone, done consistently, will transform your entire life because you're using the most receptive state of consciousness to install new programming daily. Over time, these impressions accumulate, strengthen, and become your automatic operating system. That's it. That's your daily minimum. Morning intention setting, midday pattern interruption when needed, evening subconscious programming, maybe 15 to 20 minutes total throughout the day. Anyone can do this. No matter how busy you are, no matter what's happening in your life, you can commit to this minimum. And if you do, if you maintain this practice consistently, you will remain unstoppable because you're continuously reinforcing your new frequency, continuously choosing alignment, continuously programming your subconscious for success. The practices might seem simple, but simplicity is not the same as easy, and simple practices done consistently produce extraordinary results. Beyond the daily minimum, there are practices you can do weekly or monthly that will accelerate and deepen your transformation. One powerful practice is what I call the frequency check-in. Once a week, take 30 minutes to honestly assess where you are. What's your dominant emotional state been this week? What patterns did you notice? Where did you slip back into old behaviors? Where did you show up as your new self? What synchronicities or signs did you experience? This is not about judgment. This is about awareness. You're tracking your own evolution, noticing what's working and what needs adjustment. Write down your observations. Track your progress. Celebrate your wins, even if they seem small. Acknowledge your challenges without making them mean anything about your worth or ability to transform. Another powerful practice is regular immersion in elevated content. Read books that inspire you. Listen to teachers who remind you of your power. Watch content that expands your consciousness. Surround yourself with frequency-elevating information because you're constantly being exposed to frequency-lowering information through news, social media, unconscious people, and collective fear. You need regular doses of high-frequency content to counteract this exposure and maintain your elevation. Think of it as taking vitamins for your consciousness. You're supplementing your mental and emotional diet with the nutrients needed for transformation. Community is also important for maintaining transformation. If possible, connect with others who are on a similar path. People who understand what you're talking about when you mention vibration and quantum fields and manifestation. People who celebrate your growth rather than try to pull you back into old patterns. People who hold the vision of your highest self even when you temporarily forget it yourself. This doesn't mean abandoning your existing relationships. It means adding relationships that support your transformation. You might find these people online, in workshops, in spiritual communities, or through courses and programs. Wherever you find them, connection with like-minded individuals provides encouragement, accountability, and energetic resonance that makes it easier to maintain your new frequency. Now let me address what will inevitably happen as you continue on this path. You will face tests. I don't say this to scare you, but to prepare you. Life will present situations that seem designed to pull you back into old patterns. You'll have financial challenges that tempt you to return to scarcity consciousness. You'll have relationship conflicts that tempt you to return to unworthiness. You'll have setbacks that tempt you to believe the old story that nothing works for you. These are not signs that you're failing. These are not evidence that transformation doesn't work. These are tests, opportunities to prove to yourself that you've actually changed, opportunities to choose your new frequency, even when circumstances seem to justify the old frequency. And every time you pass one of these tests, every time you maintain your alignment, despite challenging circumstances, you strengthen your new identity exponentially. You prove to yourself that your power is not dependent on external conditions. You embody the truth that you are unstoppable regardless of what's happening around you. When these tests come, and they will, here's what you do. First, acknowledge what you're feeling without resistance. If you're scared, be scared. If you're angry, be angry. If you're disappointed, be disappointed. Don't try to spiritually bypass authentic emotion. Feel it fully, but don't identify with it. Don't make it mean anything about who you are or what's possible for you. It's just an emotion moving through you, a wave in the ocean of your consciousness. Let it rise, peak, and fall. Then once the intensity passes, consciously choose your frequency. Remind yourself of the truth. You are a powerful creator. This situation is temporary. You are supported by the universe. Your desired reality is still unfolding, and you choose to maintain your alignment regardless of current appearances. This is mastery, not the absence of challenge, but the choice to remain aligned despite challenge. Another thing that will happen is that some people in your life will not understand or support your transformation. They might criticize your new beliefs. They might mock your practices. They might try to convince you that you're being naive or unrealistic. This is normal and predictable. People are comfortable with the version of you they know. Your transformation threatens their worldview, their excuses, their own resistance to change. Don't take it personally. Don't try to convince them. Don't defend yourself or your beliefs. Simply live your truth. Let your results speak for themselves. Over time, as your life visibly improves, as you become happier, more successful, more peaceful, some of these people will become curious. They'll ask what changed, and then, if they're genuinely interested, you can share. But don't evangelize. Don't try to convert anyone. Your job is not to transform others. Your job is to maintain your own transformation and serve as a living example that might inspire others to begin their own journey. You'll also experience what I call quantum leaps, moments when everything suddenly shifts in dramatic ways. You might go weeks or months where progress feels slow and subtle, and then suddenly, overnight, everything changes. The opportunity you've been waiting for appears. The relationship manifests. The money flows in. The breakthrough happens. These quantum leaps often come after periods of sustained alignment, where you've been doing the work, without seeing dramatic results. It's like you've been winding up a spring, building potential energy, and then suddenly the spring releases and catapults you forward. Don't be discouraged during the build-up periods. Trust that your consistent practice is accumulating energy that will eventually manifest as sudden, dramatic improvement. And when these quantum leaps happen, don't be shocked. Don't think it's luck or coincidence. Recognize it as the natural result of sustained frequency alignment. Celebrate it, receive it, and continue your practice so you can maintain the new level and prepare for the next leap. I want you to understand something profound about the path of transformation. It's not linear. It's not a steady climb where every day is better than the last. It's more like a spiral. You move forward, then you seem to circle back and face similar challenges, but you're facing them from a higher level of consciousness. Each time you circle back, you have more tools, more awareness, more mastery. You handle the same situation differently. You stay aligned longer. You recover faster when you slip. This is not regression. This is evolution. You're integrating your transformation at deeper and deeper levels. Don't judge yourself when you face familiar challenges. Recognize them as opportunities to demonstrate how much you've grown, and notice that even though the challenge might look similar, your response is different. That's evidence of real transformation. Let me also talk about the importance of flexibility and adaptation in your practice. What works for you now might not work for you in 6 months. You might need to adjust your practices, explore new techniques, or deepen certain aspects of your understanding. This is not only okay, it's necessary. Transformation is a living process. As you evolve, your practices should evolve with you. Don't become rigidly attached to specific techniques. Stay connected to the principles underneath the techniques. The principles are eternal. Consciousness creates reality. Vibration attracts circumstances. Emotion is creative power. Being precedes having. These truths don't change. But how you work with these principles might need to adapt as you grow. Stay open, stay curious, stay willing to experiment and refine your approach. Another key to maintaining transformation is learning to trust your own inner guidance over external authority. You've learned powerful principles in this book. You've gained understanding that will serve you for a lifetime. But I'm not your guru. This book is not your ultimate authority. You are. Your inner guidance is. Your direct connection to the unified field is. As you continue forward, you'll encounter other teachers, other perspectives, other approaches. Some will resonate, some won't. Learn to discern what's true for you, not by what someone else says, but by what you feel in your body, what you know in your heart, what your experience confirms. Take what serves you and leave the rest. Build your own relationship with truth. Become your own authority. This doesn't mean rejecting external guidance. It means filtering everything through your own inner knowing. This is spiritual maturity. This is the mark of someone who has truly claimed their power. As you move forward, you'll also want to expand your practice to include contribution. Transformation is not just for your benefit. As you elevate, as you become more conscious, as you embody your power, you naturally become a force for elevation in the world around you. Your high frequency affects everyone you encounter. Your peace radiates and calms others. Your abundance consciousness helps others believe in possibility. Your transformation gives others permission to transform. This doesn't mean you need to become a teacher or coach or public figure. It simply means living your transformation so fully that it spills over and touches others naturally. Maybe it's how you treat the cashier at the store. Maybe it's how you respond to your family's stress. Maybe it's the art you create, or the work you do, or the love you give. However it expresses through you, let your transformation be in service to something larger than yourself. This keeps you humble, keeps you connected, and gives your evolution meaning beyond personal gain. Now I want to paint a picture of what your life will look like as you maintain this practice over time. Imagine waking up 6 months from now. You don't struggle to get out of bed anymore. You feel excited about your day. Your first thought isn't worry or stress. It's gratitude and possibility. You move through your morning routine with ease and presence. You feel energized, alive, connected. Throughout the day, you notice that things flow more easily. The right people show up at the right time. Solutions appear when you need them. Obstacles that used to derail you barely register anymore. You handle challenges with calm and clarity. You trust yourself. You trust life. When something doesn't work out the way you planned, you don't collapse into fear or doubt. You stay centered, knowing that something better is coming, or that you're being redirected for your highest good. Your relationships are deeper, more authentic, more fulfilling. Your work is more aligned with your gifts. Your finances are improving steadily. Your health is better. Your energy is higher. But more than any specific outcome, what's different is how you feel. You feel free. You feel powerful. You feel unstoppable. Not because your life is perfect, but because you know that regardless of what happens, you have the tools to maintain your alignment and create what you desire. This is not fantasy. This is what happens when you consistently apply what you've learned. And imagine looking back a year from now, or 5 years from now, and recognizing that your entire life has transformed. Not because of one dramatic event, but because of thousands of small choices made daily to maintain your frequency, to choose alignment, to trust the process. You'll look at where you are and barely recognize the person you used to be. The old fears that used to dominate you seem foreign now. The old limitations you accepted seem absurd. The old version of you who believed they were powerless feels like a character from someone else's story. You've become someone new, or rather you've become who you always were beneath the conditioning. And from this place of embodied transformation, you realize that you truly are unstoppable. Not because nothing can challenge you, but because no challenge can disconnect you from your power. Not because life has become easy, but because you've become masterful at dancing with whatever life presents. Not because you've transcended being human, but because you've fully embraced being human, while remembering you're also consciousness itself, having a human experience. This is what awaits you if you maintain your practice. This is the promise of consistent application. This is why I emphasize sustainability over intensity. You don't need to meditate for hours every day. You don't need to attend endless workshops. You don't need to become a spiritual monk. You just need to do the basics consistently. Morning intention, midday awareness, evening programming. Week by week, month by month, year by year, these practices compound. They build momentum. They strengthen neural pathways. They stabilize your new frequency until it becomes your permanent operating system. And one day, you'll realize you're not practicing transformation anymore. You're simply being transformed. The practice has become your natural state. The techniques have dissolved into lived embodiment. You are what you were practicing to become. But here's what I need you to understand. Right now, tonight, as you prepare to close these pages and begin living what you've learned, The transformation doesn't begin tomorrow. It began the moment you started reading. It's been happening throughout every chapter. It's happening right now as you absorb these words. Your brain has already changed. Your consciousness has already expanded. Your frequency has already shifted. You are not the same person who started this journey. So you don't need to wait until you finish the book to start applying what you've learned. You don't need to prepare or plan or figure out every detail. You simply need to sleep. And as you sleep tonight, everything we've discussed will integrate at the deepest levels of your consciousness. Your subconscious will process the information. Your nervous system will calibrate to the new frequency. Your energy field will reorganize. And when you wake up tomorrow, you will wake up as someone different, someone who knows their power, someone who trusts the process, someone who is connected to infinite intelligence, someone who is unstoppable. So as you prepare for sleep in a few moments, as you feel your body relaxing and your mind quieting, I want you to make a final commitment. Not a commitment to perfection, not a commitment to never slipping or struggling, but a commitment to the practice, a commitment to your daily minimum, a commitment to choosing alignment over and over, as many times as it takes, a commitment to trusting the process, even when you can't see results yet, a commitment to maintaining your frequency regardless of circumstances, a commitment to being the person you're becoming rather than staying the person you were. This commitment is not to me. It's not to this book. It's to yourself, to your highest self, to the unstoppable being that you are beneath all the conditioning and limitation. Make that commitment now, silently, internally, with full sincerity, and know that in making this commitment, you've already crossed the threshold. You've already chosen transformation over stagnation, power over victimhood, consciousness over unconsciousness. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what you're becoming now. The journey continues beyond these pages. Every morning is an opportunity to choose your frequency. Every challenge is an opportunity to demonstrate your mastery. Every day is an opportunity to embody your power more fully. You have everything you need: the knowledge, the understanding, the techniques, the awareness. Now you just need to live it. And I promise you, if you do, if you maintain your practice with consistency and trust, your life will transform in ways that exceed even your most optimistic expectations. Not because I'm making you a promise, but because this is simply how consciousness works. Sustained frequency alignment inevitably produces matching circumstances. It's law, it's physics, it's the nature of reality itself. You are unstoppable, not because nothing can challenge you, but because no challenge can diminish who you truly are. You are unstoppable, not because you'll never doubt or fear or struggle, but because you now know how to return to your power when you do. You are unstoppable, not because you're special or chosen or gifted beyond others, but because you've remembered what you are, and what you are is pure creative consciousness expressing itself in physical form. This is your truth. This is your power. This is your identity now. And from this moment forward, you live from this knowing. You breathe from this knowing. You create from this knowing. You are from this knowing. The old story is over. The new story has begun. And this new story, this story of your unstoppable emergence, this story of your conscious creation, this story of your full embodiment of power, this story has no ending, because you are not becoming unstoppable for tonight or tomorrow or next year. You are claiming your unstoppable nature forever, and forever begins now. Close your eyes now and feel the completion of this journey and the beginning of the next. Everything you've learned is integrated within you. Everything you need to know is available to you. Everything you're meant to become is already unfolding. Sleep deeply tonight, knowing that you are held by the universe, guided by infinite intelligence, and becoming more fully yourself with every breath. Tomorrow you rise as the unstoppable being you've always been. Tonight, you rest in the certainty of your transformation. You are complete. You are whole. You are powerful beyond measure. And you are, now and forever, absolutely unstoppable. Rest now. Transform now. Become now. And wake into your new life tomorrow. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to your power. Welcome home to the unstoppable truth of who you are.